What started off as an offhand remark from one person,
The difference between us and somebody like Gamers Nexus or Hardware Unboxed is we test new components, new tests every time. Every project that we do has new data.
has spiraled into a massive controversy, one that threatens to destroy the reputations of two of the biggest tech YouTubers on the platform.
He's free to have his opinion, but we feel his opinion is harmful to the consumer and is harmful to newer reviewers and consumer advocates.
If Steve wants to do his own thing and call himself a YouTuber with strong moral fiber, that's his opinion, and he's entitled to it, and you're entitled to agree or disagree. But if he wants to use words like ethics or investigative journalism, then there are objective standards that he needs to uphold. And he doesn't get to decide when they're important and when they're not.
The two creators have thrown accusations at each other, ranging from being unprofessional and petty behind the scenes, to having some kind of personal vendetta against each other for some mysterious reason. But unlike most YouTuber controversies, where it's easy to see who messed up, this one's a lot more complicated. Something that is evident from the internet's reaction to the whole thing. The tech YouTube community has split into two camps, those siding with Linus and those standing firmly behind Steve. But as you'll see by the end of this video, this feud is doing nothing more than dragging both their reputations through the mud. If you've ever searched anything about computers on YouTube, you've probably come across one of these creators. Linus is one of, if not the biggest tech YouTubers on the planet. He first started making videos 17 years ago, and has since turned his company, Linus Media Group, into a $100 million YouTube empire, which includes 9 different channels, with nearly 28 million subscribers across all of them. Suffice it to say, Linus is a big deal when it comes to technology-related content on YouTube. Steve, on the other hand, runs a channel called Gamers Nexus, and while his channel pales in comparison to Linus when it comes to subscribers and overall viewership, Steve more than made up for it with his once impeccable reputation. What earned Steve the internet's respect was his relentless commitment to exposing major tech brands for scamming their customers. He took on some of the biggest names in tech, like Newegg for selling used parts as new, and Nvidia for misleading GPU specs, calling them out for things like shady warranty policies and defective hardware. This reputation crowned him as someone who's willing to take on the big players to defend the average consumer. Unfortunately though, despite the years of trust and goodwill, both Linus and Steve are now at risk of losing everything they've built. And it all started with a single offhand comment from one of Linus's employees, nearly a year and a half ago. Now, we've already covered that controversy in extensive detail in a previous video, but if you haven't watched that, here's a quick recap of what happened. In July of 2023, a YouTuber by the name of Murph's Gaming posted a video tour of the Linus Tech Tips studio, as well as their new hardware testing facility called Labs. A comment under the video describes it as the office tour that killed Linus Tech Tips. And while this is quite an exaggeration, it still has a tiny bit of truth to it. You see, the video itself was fairly standard with Murph's Gaming, going on a guided tour of the place, occasionally stopping to chat with some of the employees. However, about 8 minutes into the video, one of Linus's employees said this while discussing their new testing facilities.
The difference between us and somebody like Gamers Nexus or Hardware Unboxed is we test new components, new tests every time. Every project that we do has new data.
Insinuating that Linus Tech Tips was better than both Hardware Unboxed and Gamers Nexus. This rubbed both of these creators the wrong way, with Hardware Unboxed responding first in a tweet reading, "LTT Labs taking shots, I've rerun more benchmarks and Linus has spent money on testing equipment and staff." And if you have to tell everyone how good your testing is, in my 20 plus years of experience, that generally means your testing isn't very good. Your work speaks for itself, guys. That's how you build credibility. However, it seems like Hardware didn't want to escalate the drama even further, because minutes after posting his original tweets, he tried to defuse the situation on his own, stating, "I should note that both Linus and Luke have been good to us, and they're great guys. This is just very disappointing from an LTT employee." Linus also responded to these tweets on the next episode of his WAN Show podcast, and essentially apologized for the way his employee worded things.
We don't want to be talking about it the way that we did. I don't think we should ever make a comparison that is, a good thing we do compared to those other guys. If anything, we should be trying to build each other up.
He did receive some amount of backlash, but it wasn't anything substantial, and things calmed down within days. That is, until Steve decided to drop a nuke on Linus and his massive media empire, with a single video on the 14th of August. This video was titled, "The Problem with Linus Tech Tips, Accuracy, Ethics, and Responsibility." And as you might imagine, it was filled to the brim with accusations against Linus and the way he runs his many YouTube channels.
It's simply that we believe LTT or LMG is rushing too much to hit arbitrary and largely self-imposed deadlines that are causing frequent and sometimes significant data errors and information errors.
In addition to calling Linus out for many data errors in LTT videos, Steve also talked about the situation surrounding a company called Billet Labs, which sent a prototype to LTT for a review. According to Gamers Nexus, Linus used the wrong equipment to test Billet Labs, which is irresponsible as it made the prototype look much worse.
And bring some awareness to these critical issues. We've been thinking on this for a few months now. We have a few main points of discussion for today. They span from raw data that potentially misleads consumers, even if unintentional.
He also talked about LTT accidentally auctioning that one-of-a-kind prototype without Billet Labs' permission. It's important to remember that at this point, Steve had a near-perfect reputation, so him making a 40-plus minute video pointing out the issues with Linus Tech Tips was a massive deal and resulted in immense backlash towards Linus. Within days, LTT lost over 200,000 subscribers. A bigger hit came with a loss of over 5,000 members on their paid streaming service, Floatplane, which would have cost the company over $300,000 per year in lost revenue. This left Linus with no choice but to apologize for the mistakes.
I owe you guys better, and I'm sorry.
He also completely shut down video production for the first time in 16 years to reflect on the criticism and find ways to do things better. And while the community's response to this apology was far from stellar, Linus and his team did manage to fix the issues and regain the trust of their fanbase. For a while, it looked like things were heading in the right direction, and the beef between Linus and Steve was a thing of the past. Unfortunately, this peace barely lasted a year. The two creators are clashing once again, and this time, the drama has exploded into something far more chaotic than their previous feud. However, before we can fully dive into the recent drama, we need some important context. It all started in December of 2024, when a YouTuber by the name of Megalag uploaded his expose video on the popular browser extension Honey. In the video, Megalag presented solid evidence that Honey had been secretly replacing creator referral links with its own, essentially stealing millions of dollars in affiliate revenue from creators worldwide.
So what happened when we got to the checkout page? Well, once Honey popped up, watch what happened to Linus's affiliate cookie after we clicked apply discounts. You see that? Honey came in, removed Linus's affiliate cookie, and replaced it with their own, claiming credit for the sale and pocketing the commission money for themselves.
This video went super viral, to the point of becoming the only thing anyone was talking about on the internet. And it wasn't hard to see why. Just about everyone on YouTube had heard of Honey at some point. This is because up until recently, Honey was one of the biggest sponsors on the platform, and had worked with massive creators like Mr. Beast, Mark Rober, and many more.
Do you have Honey installed?
What's Honey?
Oh, no.
Honey.
Honey is a free browser extension.
Free browser extension.
Free browser extension.
Free browser extension.
That automatically applies coupon codes when you check out online.
Free money, basically.
It's literally free money.
It doesn't make sense to not be using this.
So what's the catch?
There is no catch.
Join Honey. Join Honey.
Join Honey.
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 Honey. Honey.
Honey.
Honey.
Honey.
Honey.
Honey.
Join Honey.
And while Megalag's video primarily focused on the extension itself, it also featured a section that put Linus Media Group under the spotlight.
But did any of the influencers who are engaging in affiliate marketing ever catch on to what Honey's been doing? Well, it turns out yes, at least one of them did. Linus Tech Tips, who have been promoting Honey since 2017.
Apparently, Linus knew about Honey's scummy business practices, which is why LMG stopped taking sponsorships from them.
However, in 2022, a different user noticed that LMG were no longer promoting Honey and asked the team if they had been dropped as a sponsor, to which one of Linus's employees responded with, "We ended the partnership with Honey due to the way their service interacted with affiliate links. Essentially, if someone clicked on an affiliate link and then they use Honey and search for a deal, Honey will override that tracking link even if they don't find you a deal. That didn't jive with us, so we ended the partnership."
And according to Megalag, Linus and his team should have made a public announcement exposing Honey, instead of quietly ending their partnership and moving on. This made some people mad at Linus, with one comment under Megalag's video reading, "Instead of raising the alarm, LTT chose to remain silent. This is quite telling." However, the vast majority of people were still on Linus's side, like this one comment that pointed out the flaw in the way Megalag presented Linus's involvement, stating, "Megalag was very misleading with parts of this this video. Not necessarily about what Honey was doing, but when he tried to claim that nobody besides LTT knew about it. A few seconds of research will turn up tons of articles, videos, and Reddit posts outlining exactly what Honey was doing with affiliate codes, dating back years ago. The only reason LTT ever found out what Honey was doing was because of all the other creators dropping Honey. Why was it specifically Linus's responsibility to go around making sure everyone who wasn't paying attention heard the news? People on Reddit were also on Linus's side, with a post defending Linus receiving thousands of upvotes and having little disagreement in the comments. However, despite the support, Linus decided to address the situation in the upcoming When Show episode, a decision that turned out to be his biggest mistake since regaining his audience's trust. Linus's response essentially boiled down to, quote, "We didn't think it was necessary."
We didn't really think that, other than, any creator friends, that it was something that impacted the general consumer, so it wasn't something that really merited a full video or anything like that.
His response was far worse than anyone expected, and a separate upload of his statement ended up with nearly as many dislikes as likes, with some of the top comments on the video pointing out the flaw in Linus's logic, stating, "It's not our story to break, I'm the victim here. Holy hell dude, nobody is saying you aren't. Megalag is upset you guys figured this out 2.5 years ago and said nothing to anybody. It's not that deep." And LTT were one of the biggest victims but made the least noise. I think that's what's bothering people. Genuine tech tip would have been to uninstall Honey. At this point, staying silent would have been better for Linus than his poorly thought out response. Something that was perfectly summed up by another person who wrote, "I didn't think this was anything to blame LTT for, not until I came here and then watched them spend 10 minutes explaining how they're not to blame." That said, Linus still had a chance to walk back on this response, apologize, and do the right thing by bringing more light to the Honey issue. During this time, Legal Eagle and countless other YouTubers banded together to file an official lawsuit against Honey. Even if Linus wasn't keen on getting involved in the lawsuit, a simple video breaking down the scam for his millions of viewers could have helped him regain some goodwill and mitigate the backlash. And maybe he would have eventually done that, but we'll never know, because just 2 weeks later, the situation took an unexpected turn. On the 15th of January 2025, Steve uploaded an hour-and-a-half long video titled "Investigation, Gamers Nexus Files New Lawsuit Against PayPal and Honey." He opened the video by talking about the lawsuit he was personally filing against Honey.
"We're suing PayPal and Honey. Gamers Nexus is the lead plaintiff in a class action complaint filed against PayPal and its property, Honey. The putative class action is already filed, and we're suing PayPal and Honey for 3 things. 1, conversion. 2 is tortious interference with contract. And 3 is unfair and deceptive trade practices. We started working with CPM Legal about a month ago, and in the time since, multiple complaints have been filed, including one by YouTuber Legal Eagle. And to be clear, our lawsuit is a completely separate filing. We're not joining theirs, we filed our own."
But 15 minutes in, things took an unexpected turn. Steve shifted gears and started throwing shade at Linus. He began by pointing out that while his business isn't as affected by Honey anymore, he still wouldn't abandon other creators.
And we won't abandon those of you with your own goals and your own aspirations just because it's not affecting us as much anymore.
This was clearly a jab at Linus's response to the whole situation. Now, if he stopped here, this likely would have completely been fine. Many were already frustrated with Linus for his lackluster response, and Steve highlighting the same point wouldn't have raised any eyebrows. However, he decided to push his luck and started taking more direct swings at LTT.
Linus recently in a When Show episode said the following regarding why they did not make a video when they found out about the way Honey works years ago, in response to how he believed he might be perceived if he had raised awareness to Honey's actions when his team discovered them.
Everyone's mad at me. It's that simple. I'm spreading the word for the smaller creators. That argument doesn't save me there, and it's not going to save me if I tell people to uninstall this extension that gets them a better deal so that smaller creators can get their affiliate revenue. Are you kidding me? There is just no way that I make that video and I don't end up hanging from the nearest tree.
Well, that's the video we're making right now. And if that were to result in backlash like he thinks it would, then so be it, because we think it's the right thing to do.
Now, you could argue that Steve's criticism was valid, but the way he shoehorned Linus into what was supposed to be an update about his lawsuit against Honey left a lot of viewers feeling uneasy, with one comment under the video reading, "I feel like the LTT cut was unjustified. I agree supporting consumers and that your move to sue is on the right track. But the drama seems almost out of place. It feels like clickbait at this point to include another YouTuber. You provide provide great support for charity, and are a hard hitter where it counts. The lack of kindness towards Linus is disappointing and surprising in my opinion. So what should have been a straightforward update about Honey and Gamers Nexus' pursuit of justice instead became the starting point for yet another feud with Linus. This time, however, the tech community didn't rally behind Steve like they did before, and more importantly, Linus had learned from his past mistakes in his previous clash with Steve. So instead of going on an emotional rant, he took his time to craft a rational and measured response for the next WAN Show episode simply titled Breaking My Silence. Linus opened up by highlighting that Steve took his words out of context in the Honey video to support his argument.
Earlier this week, Gamers Nexus took us out of context again, and I can't keep ignoring this sort of thing. Even if we ignore how disingenuous it is to compare the climate today and what we know today to the climate years ago when we originally dropped our Honey sponsorship, our regular viewers will know that I provided additional context that dramatically changes the meaning of that quote. I mean, I don't expect everyone to agree with my viewpoint. It's very clear that not everybody does. But what I do expect is for it to be fairly represented.
This, on its own, would have been enough to dismantle any argument Steve made against Linus in his video. However, Linus wasn't done yet. He then revisited Steve's previous criticisms of LTT from a video back in 2023. And while Linus admitted that many of Steve's critiques in that video were valid, he also pointed out the fact that Steve did not reach out to him before publishing the video. This goes against the core ethical responsibilities of being a journalist, which Steve claims that he is. YouTuber Tech Potato even called him out for this back in 2023.
But I'd be interested to hear the reason for the disparity. Steve, in his update video, explicitly states he doesn't have to ask permission, but that's not the point here. Reaching out to Linus Media Group wouldn't stop you from posting your video, just like it didn't stop you him posting the Principal Technologies or Newegg videos. The precedent set for the last 20 years of tech journalism and 100 plus years of investigative journalism is that you at least reach out.
Linus then went on to talk about why he thinks Steve is going after him in this manner. To him, this seems more like a personal vendetta, instead of something along the lines of journalistic responsibility. And it wasn't just Linus who thought so. Many in the community had started to share a similar sentiment. One popular theory that could explain the reason Steve was targeting Linus lay in how Gamers Nexus originally set itself apart from Linus Tech Tips. You see, Gamers Nexus stood out by doing deep dives into product data, running detailed tests, and breaking things down in a way most tech channels didn't. Meanwhile, Linus Tech Tips took a broader approach, discussing the overall viability and experience of using a product rather than the intricate details. And as the theory goes, when Linus built his new labs facility, which was all about in-depth data analysis, Steve felt threatened and started lashing out. A comment on Reddit summarized this perfectly. Steve is jealous of Linus starting labs and thinks they're stepping on GN toes, as if only GN can do testing, etc., and knows labs will be more successful than them and take traffic and business from them. Can't stand the competition or the fact Linus will always be far more successful than him. That said, this is nothing more than a theory, and as you'll see, it's likely not true. But that hasn't stopped people from labeling Steve as petty and jealous. Getting back to Linus's response on the WAN show, he ended the segment by reading an email he sent to Steve before going live. The purpose of this email was to reach out to Steve before doing his response.
Steve, on WAN Show today, I'll be doing a segment outlining some of the ethical and journalistic issues with your content that I've observed personally and that I have seen raised by the community.
To most viewers, this looked like Linus extending an olive branch to Steve. Maybe he was hoping to resolve the drama privately before going public. However, Steve did not take the offer. He actually leaked the full email on both his Twitter and YouTube community page a few hours before the WAN show, alongside a statement reading, "As for an initial written comment on this message, we feel it is a mischaracterization with leading statements and loaded questions. We will await the WAN show appearance where your views are presented, and we will, after that time, respond by sharing the things we've been hesitant to talk fully openly about as well." However, his viewers did not take kindly to Steve wanting to extend the drama, with one person writing, "At this point, it feels petty to do this back and forth between you two. Either have an open conversation face to face or leave it be. This feels like the standard stupid YouTuber drama, but with more professional sounding words and longer emails. It takes away from the points you're making, and in the initial PayPal Honey video, it also felt out of place even then." Viewers also advised Steve to slow down on his hectic upload schedule schedule and take time off to collect himself, similar to what Linus did back in 2023. LTT took their week to pause production and reflect. I think it's time for Gamers Nexus to do the same. 100+ hours a week is beyond burnout territory. But just when it seemed Linus had the upper hand in this feud, Steve fired back with a response that left the community more divided than ever. On the 21st of January, Steve posted his latest channel update. In the description of this video, Steve linked to a lengthy blog post containing his response to Linus. However, instead of defending himself against Linus's comments about his journalistic integrity, Steve has decided to go on the offense. In this post, he has included 3 major allegations against Linus, alongside evidence to back his points. These include Linus blatantly plagiarizing Steve's content without any acknowledgement in the past, Steve contacting Linus Media Group about errors in their coverage and them failing to resolve them, and worst of all, Linus being extremely unprofessional and straight up rude behind the scenes. For example, according to Steve, Linus once called him, quote, less autistic than you used to be, during a call back in 2021. And while all this was quite damning for Linus, it ultimately split the community in two. Many people believed this was Steve's attempted deflection by dodging the core issues and bringing up new allegations against Linus. On the other hand, some also went back to Steve's side in this argument, labeling Linus as a narcissist in the process. Following this exchange, both Linus and Steve stopped talking about each other and moved on to their usual content. And for a few days, it seemed like the feud had finally come to an end. That is, until an unexpected third party entered the picture with even more incriminatory evidence. On the 25th of January 2025, Lewis Rossman posted an hour-long video about Linus titled, "This is not an influencer." He opened the video by criticizing Linus's original response to the Honey situation and his reasoning for not making an expose after learning the truth.
Seemed like he was worried about how he'd be perceived and how he'd be torn apart. So I'm going to quote one of these videos. And I quote, "If I told everybody, uninstall Honey, an extension that supposedly gets them a better deal because I wasn't making enough money from it, do you really, honestly, ask yourself, truly, do you think that would have gone well for me?" So Linus is asking his viewers to ask if they think it would have gone well for him. And my first thing, what makes me want to punch my monitor, is that it's not about you. You gave up the right for it to be about you, or your image, or how you think you'd be perceived when you took their money to advertise a closed source browser extension to all of your users.
He also accused Linus of being a master manipulator who, in Lewis's words, creates false dichotomies to avoid accountability. For instance, Linus's earlier forum post about dropping sponsors, where he argued they shouldn't be expected to create a 3-hour-long video justifying their decisions. This infuriated Lewis to no end, resulting in him getting extremely heated in his video.
You don't have to do a 3-hour-long retraction, you manipulative. That's some bullshit. That's bitch shit right there. What you're doing is you're deflecting accountability and responsibility. You're avoiding it, and then you're twisting what people are saying in your audience to something ridiculous to make them look ridiculous when they don't have to. That's bitch shit. That's child shit. That's not being a grown woman or a grown man. That's being a child.
And this was only the beginning. Lewis then went on to talk about his previous experience with Linus, focusing on the difference between his on-camera charisma and how he was behind the scenes. It started in 2018, with Linus asking Lewis to collab on a video about repairing a broken iMac. According to Lewis, he was already vacationing in Canada at the time, so he decided to drop by LTT and make this video, without charging Linus for any travel expenses. Fast forward to the next year, Linus invited Lewis back to Canada for LTX. Now, for those of you who don't know, LTX is an annual in-person event hosted by Linus Tech Tips, catering to fans and featuring several other tech creators as guest participants, and Lewis was among those who were invited. However, along with this invitation, Lewis received an email from Linus's wife, Yvonne, stating that the event was already going over budget, so they couldn't cover the travel expenses for Lewis's girlfriend. Despite some back and forth discussions, Yvonne only agreed to cover the hotel stay, leaving Lewis responsible for his girlfriend's airfare. Lewis wasn't happy with this arrangement. During a stream, when a fan mentioned they were excited to see him at the upcoming LTX, he didn't hold back and explained why he wasn't planning to attend.
"I'm going to your event for free. You're charging a lot of money for tickets to this event. Like last year, I think it was like $300 or $500 to be able to have dinner with Linus. I'm going to be going there for free. You're going to kind of be able to advertise that I'm there for free. You're charging people to go to the event. You're nickel and diming me about my +1. How about I don't go to your event?" That really put a bad taste in my mouth.
In his new video on Linus, Lewis revisited the situation, revealing the manipulative email Linus sent him after that stream.
switches this victimhood thing by accusing me of spinning a story, and he turns a business decision into a personal attack. He gaslights me by saying I seem emotional when my email is actually quite measured and business focused. The most telling part of this is that he took a very simple business decision and he dug into this little bag of guilt and he pulled something out just to manipulate me a year and a half later.
According to Lewis, the email was yet another example of Linus's attempt to control the narrative whenever faced with opposition, and this behavior from Linus wasn't new. Lewis brought receipts to show that Linus had been using similar tactics for nearly 6 years. For context, in Linus's response to Steve's original expose in 2023, he shared a lengthy text message he had sent to Steve on the same day the video was published. This message boiled down to burying the hatchet and wanting to move forwards, stating, "I'll be moving forwards as normal and won't be participating in any kind of nonsense public sniping. It'd be good for views or whatever, but I'm pretty focused on growing the company and our test capabilities and our team. You're still welcome at future LTX events and would be happy to resume working together in good faith if you ever decide again that working together as press is good for the industry." However, according to Linus, Steve never responded. This made Steve look like a childish, petty person who was incapable of settling his differences and moving forwards in a positive way. That is, until Lewis made this crazy revelation.
So Steve's telling me about this message and he reads it to me. And Steve says, "Oh, I didn't get this message. This is weird. I never got this. Oh, that's interesting. It looks like it got sent to my other phone." I asked Steve about the history of his phone numbers, and apparently Steve had his number changed several years ago, and he alerted everybody to it, including you. So I asked Steve, "How often has Linus texted you on this old phone?" And he says, "Never." I asked Steve, "How often do you talk to Linus on your new phone?" "Oh, many times. We've talked several times in this new phone. He messaged me when his channel got hacked. He's messaged me back and forth about other things." So this one text message that would make you look really bad if you didn't reply to it, that he showed on screen later in a video where he's defining morality and showing how you don't live up to it, is a message that he sent to a phone number he knows you don't use anymore.
Put simply, Lewis accused Linus of deliberately sending the text to the wrong number. That way, he could later weaponize Steve's lack of response against him. And to top it all off, Lewis ended his video by addressing Linus's sponsors directly, calling them out for supporting him.
All you people that are complaining in private about getting bullied by this man and about reading the same type of manipulative shit, I guarantee you, your products will continue to sell without giving him tens of thousands of dollars. And someone admitting that they cared more about their image than telling their 14 million audience members that a closed source piece of software they installed in their computer was being created by thieves? This guy's endorsement isn't even worth a greenie.
Both Steve's blog and this video from Lewis forced Linus to respond yet again. However, the only point Linus addressed directly was a past comment he made about Steve, referring to him as, quote, "less autistic than you used to be." Linus publicly apologized for it.
I will meet my faults and my errors head on. I'm sorry that I used unprofessional language, and if I ever said this. Truthfully, I don't recall it, but if I did, I take that back 100%. I'm sorry, and I will work to do better.
Other than that, Linus claimed that he's done everything he can and that he doesn't want to be part of this drama anymore.
Calls to end the drama, but I can only control my side in this. My team and I have issued corrections and retractions where needed. We will continue to do so. There's a couple fixes that we need for the 5090 video. They're pinned under the video. We're getting all of that sorted. Meanwhile, the other side is spitting on our olive branch, lawyering up, publicly attacking my credibility with no indication that it will end, and now seemingly colluding with other creators to smear me in public. I don't want to play this stupid game anymore.
However, Lewis later posted another video doubling down on his claims and saying that the only thing he regrets is the length of that video.
A lot of people who have asked me, do I feel regret for the video that I did, the 1 hour long video on Linus Tech Tips, and I will say that I have some deep regret. I stand behind everything that I said in that video. The problem was the presentation. That video was 1 hour. It should have been 3 to 5 minutes.
This is where things stand right now. None of the creators involved in the feud have made any further posts or videos addressing each other or the drama, and the community's response to this ending is even more chaotic than it was before Lewis posted his video. Some argue that Lewis unnecessarily inserted himself into a conflict he wasn't directly involved in, and accuse him of being overly dramatic to paint LTT in a negative light. Like this one person under a Reddit post discussing Lewis's video, who wrote, "TLGR, Rossman left out details to make himself look good and shit on Linus and LMG. LMG. On the other hand, some people are completely on Lewis's and Steve's side, bashing Linus for being a horrible person, especially since he didn't even bother responding to the allegations Lewis made about his text to the wrong number, with a sarcastic comment on YouTube stating, "Employees complain and quit, their fault. Merch buyers complain, their fault. Float playing complaints, their fault. Sponsor complaints, their fault. Other influencers complain, their fault. LTX participants complain, their fault." Damn, LMG must be the best company ever. So many complaints, yet always in the right. And then there are those who are still firmly behind Linus, and believe that the other two are in the wrong for escalating things so far, reading, "Linus is no angel, but the videos of Gamers Nexus and Lewis makes it look like he's the devil. Linus had already admitted he made some mistakes and is willing to make amends." The vast majority of people, however, saw this whole thing as childish and unnecessary. They are simply tired of all the drama and are just happy that things have gone back to normal, with a frustrated LTT fan writing, "Regardless of what you want/intend, you are escalating things by having an aggressive defense in a broadcasted format. You need to sit down and converse with GN face to face, where there can be real dialogue, rather than poking fire at every WAN show and having the next week play out in response." In his last video about the feud, Steve mentioned that he'll meet Linus in person at an event this May. Hopefully they can resolve their differences professionally and keep things from spiraling further before then. But Tech YouTube is only one corner of the platform where creative feuds can turn into full-scale wars. From having the fastest growing channel on YouTube at one point, to kickstarting one of the most popular SMPs in Minecraft history, Dream has shattered countless records in his relatively short career. But judging by the way things are going, it won't be long before he sets yet another record. This time for having the most controversies tied to a single creator. Dream is a controversy magnet, and once again, he's caught up in even more drama. And just like his previous clash with Quackity, he's beefing with yet another one of his former friends, Tommy Innit. And while this is quite heartbreaking for everyone who loved watching the two work together in the past, the internet at large is treating this as nothing more than soap opera level entertainment. And as we'll later see in the video, the Dream and Tommy Innit drama has already turned into a meme. But let's take a step back and start from the beginning. And oddly enough, the drama didn't even involve Dream at first. It was actually between Tommy and Mizkif. It all started when Tommy uploaded the end-of-year episode of his podcast with Jack Manifold. In this episode, the two are talking about their many experiences in 2024, while also giving out awards for things like the favorite person or most improved friend. Nothing too remarkable. But then, around 23 minutes into the episode, the conversation shifted to the topic of the worst person they'd met in 2024, and no one could have predicted the person Tommy would mention for this award.
All right, worst person I met award.
Oh, for me, it's so easy.
Go on.
Mizkif.
What caught everyone off guard even more was how harsh Tommy was when describing his encounter with Mizkif.
Anyway, I had to stand next to him for a bit, and I've never just genuinely hated every word and movement someone did. I also was very tired and wanted to see my friends, and I didn't get to see my friends. I got to see Mizkif. Socially inept Mizkif. He wouldn't leave me alone when I clearly was giving off all the signals for him to piss off. And I kept sort of going, and stealing this way. And then he'd stand there and go, and he'd ask me another question.
A clip of this segment went viral on Twitter and eventually reached Mizkif, who responded in a similarly scathing manner.
When I was talking to Tommy Innit, he was probably one of the most insufferable people that I've ever talked to in my life. When I was sitting there waiting for Masayoshi to pop up, Tommy Innit is just standing there like a complete prick and looking like such a jackass. I'm trying to just sit there and wait for Masayoshi. I say hello to him, and he gives me the rudest stare you could ever imagine. I'm like, what is your fucking problem? What the hell did I do to you, you stupid British fuck?
As the drama between the two became more widespread, more and more creators started reacting to the original clip and Mizkif's response online. This also included XQC, who didn't back either side and labeled both Tommy and Mizkif as cringe.
Okay. Well, these guys are all cringe, sorry.
As a response, Tommy tweeted the following: "To be more cringe than Tommy Innit is pretty fucking hard, but you pulled it off, pal," alongside a picture of XQC shaking hands with Donald Trump. XQC then responded with a tweet clapping back at Tommy, stating, "From doing streams in my basement to doing a live stream with the president. How is that a diss? You went from writing Dream for a living to making jokes to teenage girls, lock in. That's when Dream stepped into the spotlight and ignited yet another controversy with a single tweet. He replied to XQC's post with a now deleted meme showing the two potential futures for former Dream SMP stands, which included growing up or becoming a retarded Tommy Innit fan. It's unclear if he tweeted this without much thought or if he genuinely believed it was a good response to the situation, but a series of comments on his subreddit perfectly summarized the dilemma, with the first comment reading, "What possessed him to tweet that?" as well as, "It literally did not need his involvement, much less this involvement. I'm flabbergasted." Regardless of his intentions, however, the internet's response to this was overwhelmingly negative. Even those who didn't care much about his use of the R-word jumped onto the opportunity to clown on Dream just for the fun of it. That said, if left alone, this controversy would have vanished from the internet in a couple of days. But before that could happen, Tommy decided to go nuclear and uploaded an entire video on the topic simply titled Dream. He opened the video by addressing the elephant in the room.
Basically, if you're one of my subscribers, Dream has called you a slur.
Before going into more detail about why Dream's use of the R-word is problematic, his audience fully agreed with this response, with a commenter stating, "As a disabled person myself, specifically autism, it hurts so effing much to have people call me and others the R-slur. It's so effed up, and it makes me really happy to have a content creator that's a big part of my life and I look up to, stand up to speak about it. I love that you aren't shying away from it. You were calling him out for this because it's really not okay. Thank you, Tommy." More importantly, Dream's own fans were also in complete agreement with Tommy, especially since Dream had spoken out against the use of the word retard in previous tweets, reading, "I don't personally support using the word retard. I feel enough people find it offensive that if you're a content creator, you should phase it out of your vocabulary." This made him look like the biggest hypocrite, someone who used the word to virtual signal to others, but when he wanted to insult the intelligence of someone else's fanbase, this was the only word that came to mind. That being said, this wasn't the only thing Tommy wanted to talk about in his video. He came in loaded and started accusing Dream and his friends of various other offenses, like talking about his time in the Dream SMP and how Dream made him feel inferior after giving him some YouTube advice.
4 years ago, you were awful to me. When I was 16, you gave me YouTube advice and you held that over my head for years. You didn't treat me like an equal and you made me feel small.
Tommy called him out for being an alleged sexist who allegedly badmouths women behind the scenes.
And you and your friends' references and the way you talk about women behind the scenes has been so sexist too. Shame on you guys.
He also mentioned the time that Dream allegedly harassed his mother while she was going through a divorce.
You harassed my mum as she was going through a divorce, the worst time of her life. You tried to harm the relationship between me and my mum, and if we weren't best friends, with the shit that you were saying, you probably could have really harmed that, mate. You are like a proper movie villain.
And while he didn't offer any context to support this accusation, the proof is out there, and we'll dive into this a bit later. Now, given Tommy's prior reputation as an obnoxiously loud Minecraft streamer, many assumed that his response to Dream would be full of angry shouting, but instead, most viewers considered his video to be mature and relatively level-headed when considering the prior content he got famous of. However, he would end the video in a way which was relatively cringe by preaching to Dream to get off the internet and go to therapy.
I really hope you're not a genuine bad person with a bad heart. But mate, you need to get off the internet now. Go and get some therapy. Spend some time around your loved ones. Go on a walk. Look after yourself. You being an arsehole right now doesn't mean you will be one forever.
However, this still raises an important question. Why now? Why did Tommy suddenly go into so much detail about Dream's past wrongdoings when the issue was initially just about his use of the R-word? But that's the thing, this wasn't sudden. As I briefly mentioned earlier, Tommy's animosity for Dream has been brewing in the background for a long time. More importantly, he isn't alone in this sentiment either, and we can see hints of this in some of his recent content, like in November of 2024 when Tommy invited Filza to his podcast, who was also a member of the Dream SMP back in the day. In a Patreon exclusive section of the episode, Tommy, Jack, and Filza spent nearly 10 minutes discussing the toxic side of Dream behind the scenes, with the trio at one point mentioning that there was no shortage of red flags they should have noticed before things got out of hand.
There were red flags to begin with.
Oh, they were everywhere. They were literally everywhere.
If only someone could have told me.
If only someone close to you was saying the entire time, this guy doesn't seem like my favorite kind of guy.
Best interests at heart.
They also recounted an instance where Dream got into an argument with Tommy, and instead of dealing with the issue like a reasonable person, he brought out Tommy's YouTube statistics to show how much his SMP has helped with Tommy's online career.
I don't know if this is real or not. Is he joking?
He like pulled up your like social blade and like circled it. It was like
it was mad,
quoting numbers and shit. It was really weird.
From what I saw, you were memeing. Then he took it too serious.
Oh, I would never speak to a 16-year-old.
Yeah, imagine like a child came up to you, like made a little joke, and you were like, "I made you. Look at all these numbers. Here's where I got involved." What a prick, man.
It's like, yeah, it's weird.
I hate him. No, I seriously hate him. I'll just say it. I fucking hate the guy.
Yeah, get off your chest, man.
It's been years. It's been years. I'll just say it. I fucking hate him. I always have.
In other words, Tommy had plenty to say about Dream already, and this tweet just became the trigger for him to air out the dirty laundry. Which brings us to Dream's somewhat lackluster response to the whole controversy, starting from the first statement he posted soon after receiving backlash for his tweet. After deleting his tweet, Dream went onto his subreddit and posted a comment attempting to explain his reasoning for using the R word, which essentially boiled down to, if others get away with saying it, then why can't he? He commented, genuinely still confused on what the quote rules are. Honestly, not trying to be obtuse. Multiple people go viral calling me the R word, and everyone explains that it's okay because they're neurodivergent. So then I see a meme that uses it and post it and get absolutely throttled for it. Obviously, it's the internet being disingenuous, but that doesn't completely invalidate anyone that might be upset by it. Most of the people calling me ableist for using it are the same people that lit off fireworks when Nicholas Cantu was the slur-slinging slasher, including Tommy's closest friends. It's either okay or it's not okay. The double standards are infuriating. He then went on to talk about how he has an issue with Tommy being the quote, internet please, even though he's willingly keeping Toxic Dream SMP fans around to boost his own success. And as you might imagine, this was not received well by anyone. Tommy's mother also responded to this in a tweet reading, couldn't be asked getting involved, there's no ambiguity about using the R slur. Then I saw the bit about being autistic, which really me off. Being autistic and being an ableist prick are two completely different things. His attempt at justifying his actions made the backlash even worse, resulting in him deleting the comment and moving on to his next plan. On the same day, Dream would go live discussing his side of things in more detail, while also going over the history of Dream SMP, how things ended, and what the dynamics were behind the scenes. Unfortunately for Dream, this made the already bad situation even worse. However, this wasn't because of anything he said during the stream. Instead, the backlash grew stronger when, at one point, he shared screenshots of his old DMs with Tommy, something Tommy had specifically asked him not to do in the past. This led to Tommy going back on Twitter and posting, I just want very famous YouTubers I liked when I was 16 to stop leaking DMs of me being a bit awkward. Is that too much to ask? This only made Dream look bad, and nullified any effort he put into his stream to explain himself, with one person writing, if you're still leaking DMs from years ago, it says more about you than the other person. That same day, Tommy uploaded his Dream video, bringing the drama to YouTube and kickstarting the insanity that it's become since. But that was only the beginning, because just 2 days later, Dream posted his response to Tommy's video on his own channel, titled, I'm sorry, but not to Tommy in it. He opened up the video by apologizing for the tweet that started this whole mess.
I posted a meme on Twitter that used the R word, and I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry, genuinely. I think it's important to acknowledge right off the bat that that's not right. That's not how you should behave. I shouldn't have done it, period.
Given the amount of backlash from all corners of the internet, this was the more reasonable approach to defuse the situation, especially compared to his previous attempt at trying to justify his actions on Reddit. He then followed this up with another reasonable point, essentially calling out Tommy and his friends for continuing to label him as a PDF file even after the allegations were proven false.
When I had false allegations made about me, it was one of the hardest times of my life, and you and your friends decided that after I went through the hell of debunking them, that you would continue to spread, joke about, and support these lies. Don't believe me that you've been doing this? Let's just hear your own best friend confirm that this has been happening.
I get why he might be mad about the lies. That group being like, he's a pedophile all the time, which again, I don't like. I don't like.
In the eyes of most people, this is obviously wrong. It not only makes the internet believe Dream is actually a PDF file, but it also diminishes the seriousness of the label for those who have actually truly been convicted of this terrible crime. Put simply, there's no excuse for Tommy or anyone to treat this massive allegation as nothing more than a joke at the expense of Dream. Another point Dream brought up was Tommy calling his merch lazy, to which he responded by mentioning the massive merch scam Tommy fell for, resulting in his viewers losing tens of thousands of dollars.
Fortunately, that company also scammed a bunch of his viewers, and multiple of his creator friends got scammed and literally never got paid, and the company went bankrupt.
The biggest creators in the world are at the center of a scam, and I don't know if I should talk about it. Some have been defrauded, others are associated, and most are plain embarrassed.
This is actually true and was investigated by CoffeeZilla.
So far, so good. Unfortunately, this is where Dream's response began to fall apart, somehow leaving him in an even worse position than before he uploaded the video. You see, Dream tried to discredit all of Tommy's allegations and statements with counter-arguments. However, many of these counter-arguments turned out to be either misguided or outright false. For instance, when discussing the amount of effort Tommy puts into his videos, Dream had this to say about his editor's situation.
I edit my own videos. I'm sure Tommy can knock out videos pretty quick because at one point he had a literal editor sweatshop where his editors made less than minimum wage, and were also getting fans to edit the videos for free for them. But to each their own. Everyone has a different style of YouTube. I don't get the high and mighty.
However, soon after this video came out, many of Tommy's editors started coming out on Twitter to disprove Dream's claims. According to them, the editing team was always compensated well with above market rates. Worst of all, these editors also caught Dream cropping and merging different screenshots to fabricate evidence for his claims. Like, at one point in his video, Dream showed a screenshot of one of the editors talking about, quote, getting Tommy Stans to do like rough cuts for him or something. For context, Dream is alleging that Tommy asked for free edits from his fans. But here's the thing, he conveniently cut out the very next sentence where the person clarified they didn't actually go through with it, suggesting it was just a random idea. But even this pales in comparison to Dream's response to the sexism allegations. In his video, Dream dismissed those allegations because Tommy didn't provide any evidence to back his claim.
And you and your friends' references and the way you talk about women behind the scenes has been so sexist too. Shame on you guys.
I don't even know what this is about. You don't provide any context or evidence to what you're saying. You're mad that I criticized your friends in a 3-hour-long live stream with screenshots and receipts of their not so good behavior, so you just make stuff up about my friends?
That might seem like a fair point, except multiple other creators have also called out Dream and his circle for sexist and allegedly misogynistic behavior, like Connor Eats Pants, who uploaded a video featuring Elmo from the Muppets TV show, and when the discussion turned towards Dream, this is what he had to say.
I don't really want to get into it, Elmo. I mean, I guess like the best way I could put it, like imagine if like Big Bird like was just like not chill sometimes and like wasn't really like a good friend and like sometimes like
Emma does not have to imagine. I totally understand.
Yeah, is Big Bird sometimes rude to girls?
Big Bird's always rude to women on set.
Yeah, basically that was it. But bygones be bygones, water under the bridge, you know, moving on.
More recently, Ludwig also talked about why he didn't do a video covering Dream's The Truth video, and his reason was that Dream called one of his friends a whore.
But the real reason I didn't want to do it is what he brought up. You know, he called one of my friends a whore.
And even though these accounts aren't definitive proof, they still hint at a potentially dark reality behind Dream's on-camera persona. Lastly, Dream also tried to disprove Tommy's claims that he harassed Tommy's mother while she was going through a divorce. For some context, back in August of 2023, Tommy uploaded a skit in which he made fun of several popular YouTubers, including Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, and of course, Dream.
Yes, it's done! A Minecraft server to combine multiple communities, my communities together, and bring the world together. This is an amazing idea.
Hey, I don't like that idea. It's actually my idea, not yours.
This Dream section was about his beef with Quackity. However, Dream stans assumed that Tommy was being an ableist and making fun of his stutter, so they started attacking him on Twitter, only to get replies from Tommy's mother trying to defend her son. After seeing this, Dream sent her a long text on Twitter, which is what Tommy was talking about in his video. Now, Dream claims that this was completely innocent and in good faith.
I sent her this singular message on Twitter, letting her know that I didn't agree with my fans that Tommy's portrayal of my stutter was ableist, but also letting her know that I didn't like the rest of the video because it was causing additional harassment for me that I was already getting because this was at the peak of the allegation.
However, a closer look at this text shows that he accused Tommy of being, quote, dishonest, cruel, and very hurtful. And while Dream likely didn't know the stress she was under due to her ongoing divorce, this text can still look like a complaint with a threatening undertone rather than consolation. If Dream was truly concerned about her facing harassment from his fans, wouldn't it have made more sense to post a tweet asking them to back off, rather than sending her a private message listing everything wrong her son has done? To summarize, Dream's response video was a complete failure, something that's evident from the like to dislike ratio, especially compared to the mostly positive reception of Tommy's video. After posting his response, Dream made one more attempt at damage control by doing a stream with Tubbo. He was likely hoping to gain the support of one of Tommy's friends. Unfortunately, this was just as big of a disaster as his response video. Tubbo didn't hold back. He pressed Dream on a part of the video where he claimed Tommy's merch was made by child laborers.
Tommy went with a merch company that actually had some really cool designs, with some very hardworking child laborers to make it possible.
What you say in the video is Tom worked with a merch company that did child labor, and his merchandise is produced with child labor, and you have not shown any proof of that, which is defamation.
This only made things worse, fueling the controversy even further. That said, the internet's reaction to this entire drama has been interesting to say the least. People on the internet have split into two distinct camps. First of which is the side that's taking this very seriously. They're treating it like any other YouTube controversy and are fussing over every detail to find the truth. And while there is some support for Dream, especially in places like his own subreddit, the vast majority of people are backing Tommy in this feud. Or at least that was the case until Tommy shattered all that support with a single bad decision. As I was writing this video, he uploaded a new episode of his podcast with Jack, titled An Eventful Week, clearly hinting at his ongoing clash with Dream. Tens of thousands of fans immediately clicked onto the video to get the latest update, only to be disappointed beyond belief. Tommy deliberately removed his actual discussion of the drama from the YouTube upload, only to lock it behind a paywall on Patreon. And this made some more people angry at Tommy than every Dream response combined, with one tweet writing, "Tommy Innit is the biggest scumbag in existence. People click on your free podcast episode as you clickbait them into thinking you're speaking about Dream. Then to not talk about Dream, but instead tell people that if they want to hear about that, they have to go to your Patreon." Then there's the second camp, which includes people who are simply exhausted by the endless Minecraft YouTuber drama cycle, with comments like, "Massive news for the unemployed," poking fun at the absurdity of it all. For them, this beef is nothing more than soap opera entertainment. The whole thing is turned into a massive meme, mocking just how irrelevant Minecraft YouTuber drama is in the grand scheme of things. That being said, some people are simply wondering why this needs to be a massive online fight anyway. A private phone call would have been a far more productive way to resolve these issues. Instead, they're needlessly airing out their dirty laundry to the public, acting like children, and ultimately hurting both of their reputations in the process. This could escalate into something much bigger if either side manages to present more compelling evidence, but as the feud stands right now, it's still creating a huge divide in the Minecraft community. On top of that, Tommy locking his response behind a paywall could easily backfire, potentially shifting public opinion in Dream's favor. It's a clear attempt to cash in on the controversy, and it might not sit well with viewers who feel they deserve transparency.
And when two fandoms collide, the actual facts can disappear behind the drama almost instantly. Is Lex Fridman a fraud? On the surface, Lex Fridman presents himself as a modern-day genius, a man long associated with MIT, the world's most prestigious university, who now runs one of the most popular podcasts on the planet, pulling in millions of listeners every month, and landing guests that range from the titans of tech to some of the world's most powerful political leaders. But scratch beneath the surface and the story gets murkier. Behind the carefully crafted image lies a man surrounded by glaring inconsistencies and unanswered questions.
You don't have anything worthy to say? Shut the F up. You see these glasses that I wear? These glasses of mine are substantially smarter than Lex.
From doubts about his academic background,
does anyone know why? What is there anything they've done
No, truly, because all they do is talk. Is there anything they've built? Is there one appliance that they have anything to do with?
To suspicions as his role as a so-called neutral advocate for peace.
Lex Fridman is so devoid of actual intelligence, it's insane. Guy's like a Israeli automaton golem.
And if these allegations hold any truth, Lex Fridman could be exposed as the biggest fraud in the podcasting world, who built his entire empire on lies and deception. For those who aren't very familiar with Lex, here's a super quick breakdown of his academic and professional background. Alexei Lex Fridman is a Jewish Russian American whose family moved to the US after the collapse of the Soviet Union. There, Lex received both his bachelor's and master's degree in computer science at Drexel University in Philadelphia. He continued at Drexel for his PhD in electrical and computer engineering as well, which he completed in 2014. From there, he briefly worked at Google as a visiting research engineer. Then, in 2015, moved to MIT's Age Lab, where his work focused on algorithms for semi-autonomous vehicles like Tesla's self-driving software, before moving once again in 2019 to MIT's Laboratory for Information and Decision Systems as a research scientist. However, the thing he's most well known for on the internet is his podcast, which he started in April 2018. Though it wasn't until his April 2019 episode with Elon Musk that he exploded into mainstream popularity. Since then, he's uploaded videos with many high-profile guests, from Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson to Richard Dawkins, Donald Trump, and many more. But behind all of his shining achievements, there's a sketchy pattern of dishonesty, all of which came to light when the YouTuber Ghost Gum released an investigative video on Lex, exposing the many lies he's used to craft the image that he shows to the world.
But the more I look into this man, the more I realize that almost everything he does is deceptive, embellished, or just a flat-out lie.
And the first red flag he pointed out had to do with how he presents his academic background. You see, despite earning not 1, but 3 degrees from Drexel University, including a PhD, Lex almost never mentions the institution publicly, even on his personal website where he happily shares details like his hobbies. Drexel is nowhere to be found. On the other hand, he never misses an opportunity to bring up his connection with MIT.
Thousands of world-class biologists, actually. So at MIT, colleagues of mine, people I know. When I walk the halls of MIT, at MIT, what do you think my position of vaccines is exactly?
From his Google Scholar profile to his LinkedIn and even Facebook, wherever his name appears, MIT is mentioned right alongside it, despite the fact he never even studied there. Now, this selective branding might not seem suspicious at a first glance. After all, why wouldn't he list working at such a highly respected institution as part of his achievements? But the problem is that Lex's role at MIT is far less important than he makes it out to be. He isn't a professor or even a substitute. His title of research scientist is one of the lowest academic positions and is not even considered a part of the official MIT faculty. In other words, he holds no real influence on the campus and he has no direct relevance to any MIT student. But that hasn't stopped him from repeatedly implying that he has taught students at MIT.
As a research scientist at MIT, I've had, and especially just part of a large set of collaborations, I've had a lot of students come to me and talk to me about ideas.
When in reality, his only teaching experience comes from IAP sessions, which are informal classes that literally anyone can teach or attend. And this is where things go from deceptive to highly unethical. The thing is, by bringing up MIT's name again and again, Lex has built a false aura of authority around himself. To the average viewer who has no idea what a research scientist really means, this makes Lex look like a trusted academic voice giving weight and credibility to his opinions. In fact, back in 2023, scholar-scientist Nassim Nicholas Taleb publicly called him out for this very reason. Nassim accused Lex of using the MIT name as bait to attract high-profile guests to his podcast, even though the podcast has never had any official connection with the university whatsoever. But as deceptive as his academic branding may be, it's only a fraction of a much bigger, far more troubling problem. Even if we accept him as a legit scientific researcher, which he insists that he is.
But like I said, my main focus has always been on research. I published many peer-reviewed papers that you can see in my Google Scholar profile.
His work still doesn't do much to help the case either, and there's no better example of this than the paper he published in 2019. It attracted a lot of attention, but for all the wrong reasons. Put simply, in it, Lex's findings suggested that AI-assisted driving was significantly safer than human drivers. On the surface, these results sounded groundbreaking. But things quickly fell apart the second other experts went through his research, describing it as, quote, deeply flawed and, quote, misleading to the point of negligence. And just like many of Lex's previous papers, this one was never peer-reviewed by other researchers before publication. But instead of addressing this criticism, Lex tried to hide it under the rug, and even went as far as blocking AI researchers who were telling him to submit the study for a proper peer review. However, the most suspicious thing about this paper was its timing, as it just so happened to be published exactly when Tesla was under fire for fatal crashes involving its self-driving technology. The company was fighting a class action lawsuit at the time, and in the middle of this storm, Lex's paper conveniently appeared in mainstream media, painting Tesla's system as safer than human drivers and offering exactly the kind of academic proof Elon Musk needed to save his company's reputation. But maybe sincerity and integrity were never Lex's goals to begin with, since according to his former colleagues at MIT's Age Lab, Lex was never motivated by science. Instead, he wanted to get famous, and his controversial 2019 paper helped him achieve just that. Remember the Elon Musk interview that put him on the map? Well, he received an invite to Tesla headquarters and was able to meet Elon Musk in person just weeks after publishing this paper. And not long after that, Elon appeared on Lex's podcast, shooting him into the mainstream with a single 30-minute upload. This, combined with an earlier appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, kickstarted his rise to fame. He went from a little-known researcher to the host of one of the most popular podcasts on the planet practically overnight, all thanks to Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, and he's been clinging to the two ever since, from obsessively bringing up Elon in his conversations.
Elon Musk, Elon Musk, Elon is Elon Musk.
Often mentioning him up in completely unrelated conversations.
What'd you think about Elon as an engineering leader? Having to experience him in the most chaotic of spaces, I would say. What do you admire in the name of love about Elon Musk?
True sucking up to Rogan in the cringiest way possible.
Call me Brian Callahan. In this cruel world, there is a man you should listen to as you journey on through life. His name is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan. Shoulders for days and a really wide back.
But even with all of this, many people still find his rise to the top far too convenient to be something organic. To them, Lex doesn't even have the appeal that you'd expect from the host of one of the biggest podcasts in the world. He rarely adds anything meaningful to the conversations, and even when he does, it's rarely anything interesting.
Hopefully surf, if the waves are good.
Surf for...
How good are the waves?
Let's say they're good. This is a perfect day. This is a perfect waves. Why do you surf?
It's fun.
Okay, this is fun. Okay, man and nature, which is like what surfing is the ultimate, is the power of the infinite power of the ocean versus a little silly looking man on a board.
You could say it's the infinite power of the ocean versus a silly looking man on a board, or you could say it's fun.
He brings on pretty intelligent people, but I have no idea how he became as big as he is currently with absolutely zero charisma or energy. I will never understand why anyone listens to Lex Fridman. Zero personality, zero charisma, poor interviewer, never says anything insightful, his popularity baffles me. But despite his lackluster interviewing skills, Lex consistently lands some of the most high-profile names across tech, politics, and culture. In fact, some of these guests haven't even appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast yet.
Why are you doing it? You know what I mean? Like, why this guy who works in AI just decides he's going to start a podcast. The podcast becomes very successful, and all of a sudden he's like, I'd like to talk to everybody. I'd like to go over and talk to Zelensky and talk to Putin, and everybody's like, why you? What the fuck are you doing?
When you line it all up, the lack of charisma, the absence of strong interviewing ability, and the almost suspiciously stacked guest list, the pieces don't really add up. Now, some believe that he's just an industry plant, but for others, even that doesn't explain everything. A sentiment that has given rise to one of the craziest theories surrounding an online creator, according to which Lex isn't a scientist or a podcast host, he's a straight up spy or sleeper agent for the elites, with accusations like, this dude is the hybrid child of Mossad and some unlisted officers in Arlington. Lex gives sleeper agent a whole new meaning, and while these claims are a bit absurd, they do offer an explanation for his political views, since despite him presenting himself as a humble centrist, who respects and listens to both sides, and of course has an undying amount of love for everyone, Lex has been exposed over and over again for having a very clear political bias. Not only are most of his guests like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, and Douglas Murray right-leaning, the way he engages with these guests is also quite telling. Like when he interviewed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and failed to bring up a single meaningful question on Gaza, on peace, or the ongoing crisis in that region. On the other hand, when he interviewed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and turned it into a glazing session for Putin,
I once again have a dream that even if there's hate, that you sit down with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin and you find a way to peace.
Throughout the episode, he kept implying that Vladimir Putin was ready for peace, at one point even suggesting that Ukrainians should just forgive Putin for invading their country.
This is not a small compromise, and to forgive him will not be a small compromise.
To forgive, no one will forgive. This is absolutely impossible to forgive him. We cannot get into the head and soul of a person who lost their family. Nobody never will accept this. Absolutely impossible.
With all this in mind, it's hard to see Lex as the neutral truth seeker he claims to be. Instead, he comes off as nothing more than a propaganda vessel, as his viewers put it, is a masterclass at selling polite propaganda to people, spread lies, or equivocate horrible people using the veneer of polite intellectual discussion. And the Zelensky interview was so infuriating. I lost all respect for him after that. And it's not just in geopolitics. Even when in the tech space, Lex's podcast comes off as a safe haven where CEOs and billionaires can say whatever they want without fear of pushback, hard questions, or accountability of any kind. And in the end, that's what makes Lex Fridman so dangerous. Not that he's simply biased or unqualified or uncharismatic, but that his entire career is built on a foundation of lies and deception. So to answer the question we posed in the beginning, is Lex Fridman a fraud? Probably. But will this revelation impact his reach and influence? Seems unlikely. As long as he's the only one securing interviews with the people running the world, viewers have no choice but to tune in. From there, the compilation moves into a very different kind of internet conflict: reputation, credibility, and public image.
Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are clashing in what could be one of the biggest legal battles in Hollywood history. This has resulted in Blake losing hundreds of thousands of followers and getting compared with Amber Heard on social media. It started with the two doing a movie together, but what seemed like a fun collaboration quickly spiraled into an ugly dispute. And here's the thing, this entire situation is still spiraling, with new information and accusations dropping almost daily. So if there's something I haven't covered here, it's because the story is still unfolding, and it could get much worse. Blake Lively has accused Justin of orchestrating a smear campaign against her, and is suing him for alleged sexual harassment behind the scenes. Justin responded by publishing a 168-page document disproving her claims, while also accusing her of using toxic and manipulative tactics during the production of their film, and filing a $400 million countersuit against Blake and her husband Ryan Reynolds for defamation and allegedly trying to steal his movie. But things have only gotten more heated since. But before we get into the latest developments, let's take a step back and start from the very beginning, with the man who's in the middle of it all, Justin Baldoni. For those who don't know, Justin is an American actor and director, best known for his role in the TV show Jane the Virgin. He's been in the industry for over 20 years at this point, and even co-founded his own production company, Wayfarer Studios, in 2019, which opened the door for him to step into directing. This also gave him the opportunity to adapt the 2016 best-selling novel It Ends With Us into a film. He was a big fan of the novel himself and wanted to cast the best person he could for the lead role of Lily, the novel's protagonist. And that's where Blake Lively entered the picture. She was announced as the person Justin chose for the role of Lily in January of 2023, and the fans couldn't have been happier. Blake had been a part of Hollywood since 1998. She became extremely popular for her role in the TV show Gossip Girl, and this was before she married Ryan Reynolds in 2012, who was known as the sexiest man alive around that time. Blake was also friends with many A-list celebrities, including a close friendship with Taylor Swift, boosting her popularity through the roof. Put simply, Blake was a massive star with millions of fans willing to watch everything she appeared in. Casting her as the film's lead was a smart move on Justin's part, or at least that's how he saw it at the time. With everything that's going on now, it's safe to say that he probably regrets that choice. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Rewinding back a little, filming for the movie started in May of 2023, with it eventually coming out in August of 2024. And to everyone's surprise, it was a massive hit, earning over $350 million with a shoestring budget of just $25 million. However, the path to get here was anything but smooth, particularly for Blake, as she became the target of online ridicule on multiple occasions before the film even came out. Like when pictures of her set leaked on the internet and fans of the novel did not like her outfit choices for the character of Lily. You see, one of the primary themes of the novel is about domestic violence and the negative effects it can have on a person's life, which is why Blake's bright and colorful outfit choices felt so out of place, with one person on TikTok writing, like, "She's fine and I can get past the cast, but these outfits, they are not it." The criticism also extended to several mainstream outlets, with Time magazine in a later article stating, "It Ends With Us is no whimsical romance, it's a pretty dark movie about an undeniably grim topic," which is why the costuming for the film, a mismatched fever dream of workwear, sparkles, and bohemian fantasy, isn't just a bad fit for the story, it's a jarring distraction. But this was only the beginning, because Blake got into hot water again not long after starting the press tour for the movie. As we've already mentioned, one of the central themes of the novel, and by extension, the movie, is domestic violence, a real and serious issue that affects many people. However, during many of her promotional interviews for the movie, Blake seemed cheery and bubbly, even cracking jokes when discussing the disheartening theme of the movie.
So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could
A day before the movie came out, she also uploaded a video of her promoting the movie alongside her female co-stars on Instagram. But instead of taking things a bit more seriously, she spent the video discussing zodiac signs and talking about what kind of jobs they would have if they had to pick new ones.
And we are all in the movie It Ends With Us. I have some prompts for questions. If we could quit our jobs, what would we like to do?
And laughing.
This is throwing me off. It's more clear. More clear, less clear. Much less clear, but that's okay.
And just like the colorful outfits, this cheery behavior didn't go over well with the fans of the original work. They saw this as extremely tone-deaf and irresponsible, with one very disappointed person commenting, "You don't have the maturity required to respectfully represent the audience you are depicting in this film. I'm deeply disappointed to witness the flighty tone and bubble-headed manner used in promotion of a story about a deadly serious subject." The backlash had got bad enough that she had to disable comments on this video to avoid further criticism. However, this didn't stop fans from discussing it elsewhere on the internet, with some even comparing her approach to promoting the film with Justin's.
This is your night, mister.
No, this isn't my night. This is a night for all the women who we made this movie for.
It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
However, this comparison between Blake and Justin also brought up an issue that would later spiral into the colossal clash it is today. It started when during the promotion of the movie, fans began noticing some odd behavior from the two lead actors, like not following each other on social media, and more importantly, despite starring as a couple in the movie, the two were rarely seen together during press interviews and other promotional events. This had fans questioning if there was some kind of feud going on behind the scenes. But before the actors could address these rumors themselves, TMZ came out with an exclusive scoop on the 14th of August 2024, claiming to have all the answers. According to their report, the tension between Justin and Blake was very real and stemmed from two main instances. The first one had to do with the scene in which Justin's character had to lift Blake into the air. And apparently, Justin went to the on-set trainer before filming the scene and asked how much Blake weighed. This made her feel fat-shamed, especially since she had just given birth to a youngest son, Olin, just a few months ago in February. The second instance involved a kissing scene between the two leads, and according to TMZ, Justin lingered on this kiss scene longer than he should have, which made Blake feel extremely uncomfortable on set. These were serious allegations from a massive name in Hollywood. If true, they could easily ruin Justin's reputation and endanger any future projects. Justin realized this as well, and immediately hired the same crisis management PR firm Johnny Depp had during his defamation trial against Amber Heard. However, despite the TMZ story doing rounds on the internet, things stayed relatively calm for the next few months. That is, until December 2024, when Justin had to face not one, but two potentially career-ending incidents. On the 21st of December, Blake Lively filed a legal complaint against Justin and many other execs at his production company, Wayfarer Studios, including the CEO, Jamie Heath. This legal complaint contained two key accusations, the first of which was about the many instances of alleged sexual harassment she faced during the filming of It Ends With Us. These included things like Jamie Heath showing a fully uncovered video of his wife giving birth, Justin entering her makeup trailer uninvited multiple times while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding her infant child, Justin and Jamie talking about their quote previous addiction, and Justin improvising intimate scenes including numerous kisses without the presence of an intimacy coordinator. These allegations painted Justin to be a sexual deviant who doesn't know when he's crossing the line, and the public backlash to these allegations was almost immediate. An important thing to note about Justin is that he'd been very vocal about feminism and women's rights up until that point. He also spoke extensively about the core DV-related themes of the movie during his press tour, showcasing his deeper understanding of women's issues.
I think it's very easy to say, especially for us men, is when we maybe talk to somebody who's in this situation, or we read a book, or we hear a news story, the question that's always asked is, why did she stay? And that's the wrong question. What we need to be asking ourselves is, why do men harm?
And a large portion of his fan base, especially the women, really respected him for it. They admired his willingness to talk about these topics, where many other male actors might choose to stay silent. So these allegations of sexual harassment felt like a gut punch to these loyal fans who suddenly lost the trust they had in him, with a tweet with over 20,000 likes stating, "To see how this man who advocated so much against abuse towards women, and then to find out he sexually harassed Blake on the set of the movie that is heavily focused on domestic violence is not only disappointing, but so cruel and scary. F Justin Baldoni." Though some still had hope that these allegations were nothing more than a lie. No, you didn't find out he abused her, you heard allegations that are yet to be proven. Maybe, just maybe, Blake Lively is trying to clear her image. Regardless of the truth, these allegations alone were enough to turn Justin's life upside down. In addition to losing his near-perfect reputation, Justin was also dropped by his agency almost immediately, cutting off major opportunities in Hollywood. Earlier in December, he was given the Women's Solidarity Award by the non-profit Vital Voices, which focuses on empowering women around the world. And, as you might imagine, the organization rescinded this award days after the allegations came out. And all of this was caused by the first half of the complaint. The second half, however, betrayed an even darker side to Justin's personality behind the scenes. The second key allegation Blake made against Justin was that since she spoke up about the sexual harassment during production, Justin hired a PR team to destroy her reputation online. This also coincided with an article from New York Times titled, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine." Put simply, this article and Blake's legal complaint alleged that the online backlash she received for her mismatched outfits and cheery tone in interviews wasn't because people were genuinely angry at her. Instead, they stemmed from a coordinated attack from Justin and his PR team to discredit her online. Blake also included dozens of text screenshots supporting her claims in the complaint, including texts from one PR executive to the other reading, saying, "The narrative online is so freaking good, and fans are still sticking up for Justin, and there has literally been no pickup of those 2 articles, which is actually shocking to me. But I see this as a total success, as does Justin. You did such amazing work. Narrative is crazy good, so did you. The majority of socials are pro-Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them, lol." By this point, Justin Baldoni's reputation was in ruins. Had things ended here, Justin would have likely never found work in Hollywood again. However, he wasn't going to go down without a fight. On New Year's Eve, Justin filed a $250 million lawsuit against New York Times for allegedly misrepresenting the truth and twisting facts to support their unfounded claims. By the same day, Blake also went all in and elevated her accusations from a legal complaint to an official lawsuit. Blake's and New York Times lawyers also released a statement a few days later, saying, "We plan to vigorously defend against the lawsuit." In other words, they were willing to fight Justin and his team in court. What they didn't know at this time was that this $250 million lawsuit was just the teaser. Justin and his legal team had a full comeback in mind, which started a little over 2 weeks later on the 16th of January, when Justin filed another $400 million defamation lawsuit, this time directly against Blake and Ryan Reynolds, accusing them of attempting to destroy his reputation and career. 5 days later, on January 21st, his team also released a 10-minute unedited video from the set to disprove her claims of sexual harassment. The video opened with a statement explaining its purpose, reading, "Miss Lively's complaint alleges that during a scene, Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively were filming for a slow dance montage. Mr. Baldoni was behaving inappropriately. The following videos, captured on May 23rd, 2023, clearly refutes Miss Lively's characterization of his behavior. The scene in question was designed to show the 2 characters falling in love and longing to be close to one another. Both actors are clearly behaving well within the scope of the scene and with mutual respect and professionalism. These are all 3 takes filmed of the sequence," and then went on to show Blake and Justin acting out this scene as mentioned in the script, including footage of Blake laughing and having a good time, showing no signs of discomfort.
Oh my gosh, we don't shut up.
And Emily and I we have these moments where
Staring, you just stare.
Literally we've done it for like 5 minutes. it's like, I think you would find it terrifying. We just literally look at each other and like
A viewer also pointed out the very ending of this recording session, which, according to them, showed Justin's lack of interest in Blake after the cameras were cut, stating, "Very telling when he said cut, we have plenty, and just walked away. He didn't linger with her or watch her walk away. He showed no interest after the scene, which shows he was acting during the dance scene." And while this video addressed only one tiny portion of the massive lawsuit against Justin, it still showed him that a comeback was possible. On January 22nd, Ryan and Blake filed for a gag order, which would prevent Justin from releasing any more lawsuit-related material to the public. This gag order was later approved on the 4th of February. The judge stated that he would move up the trial date if the case continued to be litigated in the press. Unfortunately for Ryan and Blake, this was too little too late, because on the 1st of February, Justin launched an entire website titled Lawsuit Info to the public. This website featured his amended complaint, as well as a 168 pages long document detailing the entire timeline of events with receipts, starting from the first time he contacted Colleen Hoover, the author of the It Ends With Us book. This timeline of events also included counter-arguments for almost every single allegation Blake made against him. For instance, in her complaint, Blake mentioned the lack of an intimacy coordinator on set, which went against the contract she signed. But on his website, Justin included screenshots of texts between him, Blake, and a producer. In these texts, he informed Blake about hiring the intimacy coordinator, and later told the producer that Blake was the one who didn't want to meet the said intimacy coordinator, and that this might mess up the workflow. The website also included handwritten notes Justin took after meeting this coordinator. In her original complaint, Blake also went against the scoop from TMZ and claimed that the lifting scene didn't even exist. In other words, the fat shaming she experienced had no logical explanation. But on Ryan's website, he included a section of the script which clearly states, Ryle, Justin's character, scoops her up, indicating that the scene was indeed real, which is why Justin asked for her weight, as he wanted to train for it to avoid accidentally injuring himself or her. One section of this timeline also went into detail about the New York Times article, and how, according to research done by Justin's team, Blake and the New York Times worked together to defame Justin. Because after some digging into the article's code, they discovered that part of it was indexed on search engines on December 10th. So the New York Times was allegedly working on the article at least 11 days before Blake filed her complaint. In other words, they were already aware of what the legal complaint complaint was going to be about, and were possibly working closely with Blake's team. On the topic of the New York Times, his amended complaint also included evidence to show how they manipulated the truth. For example, one of the texts from his PR executive that New York Times showed in their article said, "You really outdid yourself with this piece." However, according to Justin, they failed to include the upside down smiling emoji at the end of this text, which indicates sarcasm. This might seem like a small detail, but the exclusion of this emoji takes the message's meaning from "things are not going good" regarding to the backlash Blake was receiving to "you are doing great," suggesting that the recipient was the mastermind behind the backlash. But that's not all, because in addition to rebuking claims made against him, Justin's website also included dozens of brand new allegations against Blake and her husband Ryan, the most significant of which includes everything Blake did to take control of the movie. For instance, according to Justin, Blake rewrote the dialogue for a scene to make it more, quote, floaty and yummy. But when Justin didn't agree to change the script according to her wishes, she went on the offensive. She allegedly invited Justin to her home, where Ryan and another mega celebrity friend, who Lively describes as her dragons, in reference to Game of Thrones, pressured him to go with Blake's edit. Now, while Justin doesn't name this mega celebrity in this section, most people believe that he's talking about Taylor Swift, who, as we established earlier, was quite close to Blake. That said, this was only the tip of the iceberg. Justin also accused Blake and Ryan of taking control of the wardrobe and disregarding the outfits chosen by the styling team, firing Justin's composer on her own, forcing her way into the editing room with a personal editor to make a cut of her own, essentially becoming the second editor, screening her cut without Justin or Wayfarer's approval at events, and worst of all, forcing Justin and his family to celebrate in the basement during the film's premiere. Now, I should mention at this point that these are nothing more than allegations. While they do include some conclusive looking evidence, none of this has been proven in a court of law. However, the court of public opinion doesn't have the patience to wait for the court's rulings, which is why, after this website came out, the general sentiment quickly shifted towards supporting Justin and hating on Blake. This wave of backlash also reached Ryan, who, as we mentioned earlier, is losing followers on social media, and is getting called out for seemingly faking fan interactions to boost his perceived popularity. The allegation about forcing his family to the basement was especially infuriating for some fans, with a tweet with over 10,000 likes reading, "The fact that Justin Baldoni was made to celebrate the success of his own film in the basement with his entire family, away from the A-lister spotlight, while Ryan and Blake partied upstairs, is absolutely atrocious. Justice for Justin. F. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds." That said, if we assume for a second that Justin is telling the truth, and this whole thing was orchestrated by Blake and Ryan, it brings up an important question. Why? Why would she risk ruining someone else's career? What could she possibly gain? Well, according to internet sleuths, she allegedly did all of this to essentially steal the movie from Justin. The author of the original book is on Blake's side throughout all of this, and expressed the desire to work with her for a potential sequel.
Exclusive.
Sequence.
What? Chance that you can have a what?
A sequence, like it starts with this.
I mean, if Colleen has her rights, I'll go anywhere. I'll follow this woman anywhere. Y'all heard her.
And since working on writing, costume, and editing allowed her to get a producer credit on It Ends With Us, it will make it easier for Blake to secure funding and support for these hypothetical sequels. Then again, this is all pure speculation. Maybe we'll learn the truth after the case reaches court on March 9th, 2026. That's still a long way off, but the two parties are still going at each other in the meantime. On the 13th of February, for example, Blake's team subpoenaed records of Justin Baldoni and others involved in the case from phone and internet companies. This forced Justin's team to move quickly and try to block this request, stating that Blake and Ryan are, quote, not the FBI. And while all of this was going on, Blake also filed an amended complaint on February 18th. According to this updated lawsuit, she isn't the only person Justin harassed on set, and that 2 more women will come forward during trial. This made people curious about who these 2 women could be, as their names were omitted from the amended complaint. After some digging from the public, reports began circulating the internet that one of these women was Jenny Slate, Justin and Blake's co-star in the movie. This is because Jenny openly voiced her support for Blake back in December 2024, stating, "As Blake Lively's castmate and friend, I voice my support as she takes action against those reported to have planned and carried out an attack on her reputation. Blake is a leader, loyal friend, and trusted source of emotional support for me, and so many who know and love her. What has been revealed about the attack on Blake is terribly dark, disturbing, and wholly threatening. I commend my friend and I admire her bravery and I stand by her side. More importantly, it came out that Jenny already filed a complaint with Sony regarding an interaction with Jamie Heath, the producer and CEO of Wayfarer Studios. The issue arose when she voiced her dissatisfaction with the apartment she received for the shoot. Jamie offered to pay the $15,000 security deposit to help her move. However, according to her complaint, his comments on the sanctity of motherhood and her role as a mother made her uncomfortable. It's also important to note that at this point, Jenny's involvement in the case is nothing more than speculation. Jenny might not be one of the women Blake mentioned in her amended complaint, especially since these two women would supposedly testify against Justin, when Jenny's past complaint had nothing to do with him. But that didn't stop some people from treating it as a fact, and in turn, ripping into Jenny for what they see as entitlement, with one person writing, "Oh, how dare that guy express how important motherhood is. Oh, how dare he accommodate you. How dare he offer to cover a massive expense. Jenny and Blake are both delusional." Since filing her amended complaint, Blake and Ryan have secured a protective order that prevents certain private and sensitive information from becoming public. Some are classifying this as a win for the couple. However, many are also seeing this as an attempt from Blake and Ryan to hide names of their celebrity friends, like Taylor Swift, with a popular tweet even referring to it as the quote, "Taylor Swift clause." That said, this doesn't matter much in the long run, since this protection is only active during the discovery period. It will likely go away once the case goes to trial, and that's where things stand at the time of writing. This is still a rapidly moving case with new details coming out almost daily. Not only that, but it can get even crazier if someone like Taylor Swift gets dragged into court as well. No matter how this plays out, one thing is certain: whoever gets caught lying in the end risks ruining their career forever.
And when mainstream celebrity drama hits commentary YouTube, the conversation gets even messier.
With over 18 million subscribers on YouTube, the #1 spot on podcast streaming platforms, and a massive catalogue of unforgettable interviews, the Joe Rogan Experience has become a massive cultural phenomenon. However, for every awesome and loved guest on the podcast, there's an equally awful one viewers can't help but hate.
People listen to you, and they're going to listen to you for a long time.
But this is what I hate. This is what I hate.
But hold
because
on,
then it's
let me
like,
finish
Candace,
what
you
I'm saying.
have to have a formed opinion on everything.
No, you don't have to have a formed opinion on everything. What you do have to have is the ability to know when you don't know what the
But I just said that.
Speaking of inspirational people, David Goggins' first appearance on episode 1080 of the podcast was an eye-opening experience for both Joe and the viewers, with the bulk of the interview being spent on examining what it takes to stay mentally resilient and disciplined for years. Viewers got a no BS formula for making their lives better.
How'd you become that guy?
You know what? I grew up not that guy.
Yeah.
So a lot of people put a title on me. They want to, they see me now. They see me now as the guy that with his shirt off who can do 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours, who can run 205 miles in 39 hours, who can do all this crazy shit. But what they don't understand is they don't understand the journey that it took me to get to this point.
Throughout the interview, David reflected on the choices that allowed him to push through the grueling trials, like serving as a US Navy SEAL for 20 years, breaking the world record for the most pull-ups in 24 hours, and running several ultramarathons for charity whilst injured.
So I tried to go out to this little knoll around our grassy area in San Diego. I tried to run. Legs were broken. I said, fuck, I can't even, I'm jacked. Can't do shit. So I said, you know what, maybe I'll watch you guys do the marathon and I'll cheer you guys on, whatever. And I said, I'll try to walk with my mom. December 5th happened. That gun went off. 2005, 14 days after, I broke myself off and I qualified for the Boston Marathon. I ran 3:08.
To members of the audience, David's determination to overcome near impossible challenges was an uplifting example of what is possible when someone fully commits to a goal. Naturally, clips from the podcast would go viral and inspire millions of people to become more disciplined in their own lives, with a comment stating, "After watching his interviews, he motivated me to go back to college and finish after 10 years. I graduate in May 2024. David's discipline wasn't the only thing fans admired, as they also got to see his honesty and willingness to defend Joe when he was under fire for using the N-word, with an Instagram post that read, "I've been attacked by a few people for being friends with Joe Rogan as of late. First, do I think Joe Rogan is racist? No. Was Joe wrong for saying the N-word? Yes. I know racist and can vouch for Joe. They are using race, which is a real, emotionally charged, divisive subject, as a smokescreen for the real issue, and that is what pisses me off. If you have an issue with someone, let that be the issue. Don't hide it behind something else. Fans would resonate with David's ability to look past the politics of the situation and point out the real underlying problems. As a commenter would state, as much criticism I can agree with Rogan, I saw someone criticizing Joe and they said, quote, all of Joe's right-wing nuts he has on, like David Goggins, unquote. Goggins has got to be one of the least politicized dudes Joe has ever had on. While David's physical and mental feats were impressive, some viewers couldn't help but be concerned over the potential downsides of his stay hard mindset. David already had several knee surgeries, and it's possible that continuing to work at that intensity would yield even more health complications. With a reply on a Reddit thread reading, he's probably going to end up like Ronnie Coleman, in physical therapy and getting surgeries just to walk in his later years. Yes, achievement is great, but the mind is always capable of being stronger than the body. You gotta recognize your limits. Physical limits aside, David's work ethic and commitment to facing the harsher parts of life will always give him a place in the heart of fans. Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for Amy Schumer, a comedian who destroyed her career by becoming complacent and blaming everyone else for her failures. In her early career, Amy was seen as a talented, up-and-coming comedian who was well respected by the wider comedy community and the Joe Rogan Experience fanbase. Amy's comedic skills and creative banter were so good that Joe Rogan asked her to be a host on her first appearance back in 2013.
Do our podcast on a permanent basis, please.
Yeah, you should.
We want to make you
live here.
famous.
You can live in this
Please.
studio.
We can make you famous, for real.
Okay.
You're a monster. You're hilarious.
Thank you. I'm gonna move here, you guys.
All right,
you
good.
were throwing
Fuck
it out.
New York.
You were throwing it out as a hypothetical. And I'm gonna show up tomorrow with my bags.
Dude,
like,
that's fine.
I'm not throwing it out as a hypothetical.
My rich and
totally
famous
serious.
papers?
We'll have you on every week.
Viewers would also share positive thoughts on Amy's comedic talent, with comments like, tell me less, haha, Amy Schumer destroys right off the get-go, hilarious. While Amy didn't take Joe up on his offer, she continued to flourish in other aspects of her career. From 2013 to 2015, Amy got her own TV series on Comedy Central, starred in the movie Trainwreck, and was even listed on Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People. It goes without saying, but Amy was living every comedian's dream, and it seemed like things would only go up from there. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, as Amy was about to become embroiled in several controversies that rapidly undermined her entire career. In April 2014, Amy would face numerous allegations of stealing jokes from other comedians, a cardinal sin in the world of comics. The first to point out the sketchy nature of Amy's performances was the YouTube comedian Joseph Tran. He claimed the episode Allergic to Nuts from Inside Amy Schumer had extremely similar jokes to his web series, Reasons Not to Date a Comedian.
Amy Schumer did a sketch on her Comedy Central show where she gets tricked into bed by a magician. According to a Yahoo exclusive, that is the brainchild of staff writer Kyle Dunnigan, who also plays the magician. After that episode aired, quite a few of our friends messaged Lexi, George, and me, and they were all like, oh my god, did you see Amy Schumer's episode? Holy crap, they're doing bits from Reasons Not to Date a Magician. Hey, they stole your bits.
Even though he couldn't show examples of Amy's portion, he showed clips from his web series that had similar setups and punchlines.
Ooh. Ah. Ooh. Ah.
See some similarities? I mean, the Schumer bit skews a little too closely to ours to be purely coincidental.
By 2016, Amy would face even more accusations of joke theft from 3 other comedians. While Amy denied the allegation and stated that she'd take a polygraph test to prove her innocence, her Netflix comedy special was hit with similar accusations not long after, with a headline reading, Amy Schumer steals jokes from Dave Attell and Dave Chappelle. The Netflix special not only called the origin of Amy's jokes into question, but their quality as well. With a rating of 3.3 out of 10 on IMDb, user reviews for the special showed fans were tired of Amy relying on a self-depreciating and crude style of humor, with the review reading, the majority of the 57-minute running time are the same types of jokes done over and over. Of course, these jokes include Schumer talking about her and various body fluids, as well as various poop stories. Interestingly, before the release of the special, Amy demanded more money from Netflix on par with comedians like Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock. Maybe Amy could have justified the raise if she didn't deliver an inferior product. Unable to handle the reality of the situation, Amy would hide behind politics and blame Redditors for a Netflix special performing horribly, stating on Instagram, "I'm the first female comic who is selling out arenas all over the world, and so grateful for that. I'm embarrassed for the quote journalists who report on troll activities as if it's news. It's indicative of the administration right now. Anyone who reported that viewers aren't happy with my special, it would have been cool if you did a moment of research before posting. The alt-right organized trolls attack everything I do. Poor comedy performances and being overly political was one thing, but putting yourself above the fans that made her famous is another story. Throughout her career, Amy would disrespect her fans whenever they did something she didn't approve of, like when a 17-year-old film critic who made a joke about her on Twitter, reading, "Spent the night with Amy Schumer, certainly not the first guy to write that," to which Amy replied, "I get it, cause I'm a whore, glad I took a picture with you, hi to your dad," as well as when Amy refused to show her Equinox gym membership card because she was too famous. Eventually, Amy's entitlement and superiority complex derailed her comedy career and made her a figurehead for every most hated comedian list on the internet, a trait that's in stark contrast to someone like Theo Von, whose career has only been made better by his relationship with his fans. Theo Von is arguably one of the most recognizable comedians in the modern era, from his podcast this past weekend being in the top 3 on Spotify, to his appearance on almost every major podcast. Theo Von's unique brand of humor has granted him a massive audience and led a lot of people to speculate that he's the next Joe Rogan.
Well, you think a wolf would attack you while you were jerking off or no?
Snack. Fuck yeah, you're all pink. Everything's pink, pink ass, pink. It looks delicious. When you're wearing clothes, it's like, can I eat that? I guess I can eat that. I gotta get through all that bullshit plywood t-shirt.
You know, I don't want to have that kind of ending. You get ended by an animal.
Listen, I'm gonna say right now, I don't think that you're gonna be in the woods and eaten by a wolf. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But I would say that's not how you're gonna go.
Whenever Theo did make an appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, fans knew they were in for a gut-busting experience, with the comments reading, "Theo is like a comedy pro boxer. You think you're ready, you have your guard up, and bam, he hits you real hard from a weird angle with impeccable timing, and you're howling. His mind is a beautiful mystery." However, Theo's success isn't solely due to this comedic skill, but also his ability to relate on a personal level with fans, and make light of otherwise sensitive topics. A prime example of this was Theo's winning performance on the reality television talent competition The Last Comic Standing, during which the comedian reminisced about his younger years with his late father.
Got a pretty crazy life, man. My father was 70 years old when I was born. 7-0. Gets better. My mother was 32. Basically make me a product of loose skin and loose morals, if you look at it like that. It's interesting growing up with a father in his 70s because of the quality time that we would spend. Shortly after I was born, my dad had one of his strokes. So we were both learning to walk at the same time.
According to Theo, his father passed away when he was a teenager, and even though this was a touchy subject, he was willing to have an honest discussion with viewers over it.
I love my dad. I'm grateful for him. But I've also always been a little bit angry at him. I didn't realize it. I was always angry because I didn't know him very well. You know, I was 16 when he passed away and he was 86. And, you know, I was angry because I didn't know him because he didn't know me. You know, I realized that I really kind of judged my father. Like, I didn't realize it. I always thought that one of the reasons we didn't know each other very well was because of the age gap. But I really started to think back more on it. And one of the reasons also we didn't know each other very well was because I really judged him.
This wouldn't be the only personal topic that Theo openly talked about, as he frequently shared the reality of his struggle with addiction.
But it's not real life, though. It's not as good. It's not as good as real life.
But I think that it's visually, it starts to get that it's better. And it starts to get where, like, sometimes, like, I'm 40 days off porn right now, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're like on a pornography detox.
Oh, dude, I don't ever want to see it again.
Really?
Yeah. If somebody tries to get their pussy out, I'm like, you stop.
But let me say this to you, though. You also had the same kind of issue with drugs and alcohol.
Right.
Theo didn't focus on only his problems, as he frequently gave fans the ability to call in and talk about what struggles they are dealing with their own lives.
And I hear that, but where I live, man, sometimes meetings, they don't really provide what you need. Not a lot of great meetings around here, but man, here's the deal, man. I just want to stop this shit, man, and I just want to be a good dad. I just want my kids I just want to be something that my kids can look up to and have pride in and want to be like. But that's not what they're seeing right now. And it's killing me, man.
In response, Theo would talk about how he dealt with low points in his life, not necessarily giving advice, but trying to relate with a fellow human being.
You know, when it came to my addiction and stuff, or when it comes to it, that's a story that's inside of me sometimes, or that can be inside of me. Watch me ruin everything, because I'm in control of that. It's so hard to let go of control. That's the thing. It's so hard to, I mean, you're doing it right there. When you're saying, you're tired. Man, I know that tiredness, brother.
Conversations like this highlight why Theo's authentic personality and reliability were the driving force for his career. Being funny is one thing, but being able to reach out and empathize with the audience is incredibly rare in the entertainment industry. He would even make an Instagram post reading, "A few weeks ago, I was exhausted thinking about myself and caught up in my own world, and I met this killer bee, Ebony. I got nosy and learned she drives an hour to work each morning at 4 AM because her mother is sick and she wants to live near her. Put my morning in perspective. Nothing I admire more than a hardworking woman. Reminded me of my own mother." However, showing empathy is something Candace Owen doesn't seem to understand, as she believes protecting the climate isn't a thing. Even though her interview with Joe started on equal footing, things quickly got out of hand when the topic of climate change came up.
The environment? Like, what do you...
No, not even a little bit. Like,
not even a little bit?
No. Okay, let me clarify this. I don't throw trash on the ground. Like, okay. I'm not saying, like, we need to, like, trash the environment. Like, but do I believe in climate change? No.
You don't believe in climate change?
Well, I think the climate always changes, I guess is what I should say. Do I believe that this is like, an issue that is being, that is global warming, which they've changed conveniently. They got rid of the word once scientists started disproving it. Now they only say climate change. No, I think that was just a way to extract dollars from Americans. I don't.
You'd think Candace would be willing to defend such a firm stance, but that wasn't the case.
You would have to talk to a bunch of different scientists and see how they gather data and see what they understand about CO2 levels and what's the danger of them and what can combat it and what could not.
This wouldn't be the hill I died on, right? But it's not about part. I just genuinely, I've read a ton about it, but I would not be able to come to you and say, like, this is my strong opinion. I didn't do a deep dive on all of this because I read about it because it was at a forefront of discussion. So I read about it all night, and my conclusion was that they started pulling up all of these studies from the person that did this that I did a deep dive on. And they started showing how, like, these community of scientists were in fact somewhere behind that .org or someone that was being funded. So to me, the issue got too politicized for me to believe that global warming was something that was going to wipe out the world. Now,
scientists get funded. That is a fact.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that the funding affects the scientific research and the data, which they all agree on.
When asked how her opinion on such a critical topic like climate change could affect her viewers, Candace immediately got defensive.
If I was a person that was putting forth policy on climate change, or if I was a person that put out my opinion publicly on climate change, I would do all of that. I'm just not.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that you're a very smart person, and people listen to you, and they're going to listen to you for a long time.
But this is what I hate. This is what I hate.
But hold
because
on,
then it's like,
Candace,
you have to have a formed opinion on everything.
No, you don't have to have a formed opinion on everything. What you do have to have is the ability to know when you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
But I just said that.
Whether Candace knew it or not, the disconnect between her and Joe over climate change was only made worse by drawing political lines around the subject, a fact that fans were quick to pick up on and call her out for, with a comment reading, she says, quote, "I'm not a Republican or right-wing, I'm a free thinker," then goes on to parrot every single Republican right-wing talking point, as well as, she's a fraud and she's hustling. Remember, she said racism doesn't exist, but settled an alleged racial abuse from some politician. Woman is just finessing racist whites out of their money. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be the only time Candace's narrow line of thinking negatively affected her judgment. A good example of this was Candace praising Hustlers University for being a better form of education for children over regular university.
There was this person who was doing like a bunch of digital content. I thought his content was amazing, got into touch. I mean, figured out that this is like a young school kid, like basically essentially like 20 years old, like just turned 20 years old. And I'm like, dude, you're a hustler. Like, where did you learn how to do all of this stuff? Like, I'm going to hire you. I'm like, what school did you go to? Harvard, Columbia, Hustler University. I said, excuse me? What's Hustler? I went to Andrew Tate's school and I learned how to do all of these. I mean, this kid is gonna make a killing.
That's not even the worst part, as Candace claims she doesn't even know what Hustlers University is, but still endorses it.
I genuinely don't even know what Hustler University is, but I know that that kid is 10 times more effective than people that are coming out of with college degrees right now as looking for somebody. He is a hustler, like literally is a hustler. Yeah. And so I want to commend you on whatever it is that you built that created this young kid who's gonna absolutely crush it.
Even world governments have recognized how inflammatory Candace's ideas are, as seen with her ban from entering Australia. According to the Australian Immigration Minister, Candace has been, quote, downplaying the impact of the Holocaust with comments about German SS officer Joseph Mengele through to claims that Muslims started slavery. Candace Owens has the capacity to incite discord in almost every direction. Candace wouldn't be the only guest on the Joe Rogan podcast who incited government actions, as individuals like Elon Musk have done the same for all the right and wrong reasons. Considering his influence and ties to world leaders, any of Elon's political beliefs could be seen as controversial, especially when he tweets about them non-stop. No matter how you look at it, Elon is an extremely polarizing yet entertaining figure. He's the type of guy to say whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and deal with the consequences later. Nothing illustrates this better than Elon's first appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience back in September 2018.
Very good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And thanks for not lighting this place on fire.
You're welcome. That's coming later.
How does one, just in the middle of doing all the things you do, create cars, rockets, all this stuff you're doing, constantly innovating, decide to just make a flamethrower?
Well, we didn't put a lot of time into the flamethrower. This was an off-the-cuff thing.
While the interview covered a wide range of interesting topics, the episode spawned one of the most iconic moments in the show's history and a massive headache for Elon's companies.
Or is it a cigar?
No.
Okay.
It's marijuana
it's
inside
weed.
of tobacco.
Oh, okay. So it's like pot tobacco posh.
You never had that?
Yeah, I think I tried one once.
Come on, man. You want some of that? You probably can't because of stockholders, right?
I mean, it's legal, right?
It's totally legal.
Okay.
How does that work? Do people get upset at you if you do certain things? There's tobacco and marijuana in there. That's all it is.
That episode and the resulting clips would garner over 65 million views and become a core part of meme culture, as well as tanking the Tesla stock by 6%. Elon's commitment to free speech extends far beyond viral clips, as seen with his purchase of Twitter, now X, back in 2022 for $44 billion. After the acquisition was complete, Elon released the Twitter ban on many controversial figures, like Donald Trump and Andrew Tate, along with making some major changes to advertising and monetization. While some of these changes were received positively, the majority of them caused backlash from both users and advertisers of the platform, with an article reading, "More than half of Twitter's top 1,000 advertisers stopped spending on the platform," data shows. Love him or hate him, Elon Musk is going to put his own self-interest ahead of everything, whether that be running the most chaotic social media platform out there, smoking with Joe, or going to Mars. Another individual who likes to speak their mind is Milo Yiannopoulos. Unfortunately, it has done him more harm than good. According to a Los Angeles Times article, Milo is a journalist who prides himself on, quote, upsetting the right people, and wants to, quote, push the bounds of what can be said on the internet. Viewers got a picture of what Milo meant during his appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast back in 2015.
That's interesting because Hispanics don't have the guilt about slavery that white people do. So when Hispanics are running cities like Baltimore, the policing is going to be brutal. It is going. You will never have seen.
Hispanics are going to run
you
Baltimore?
will never have seen anything like it. Hispanics, because Hispanics are going to be the
So what are you saying?
demographic majority in this
They're
country.
They're going to run Baltimore and what? Continue the drug war?
They don't have the same guilt. They don't have the white guilt that allows Black Lives Matter to flourish, right?
While Joe and fans agreed with Milo on some of his points, it was clear that he was playing a character and arguing for the sake of getting a reaction, with a commenter stating, "It was very entertaining, but this guy was very contrived, and the odd leaps of twisted logic he had to come up with to justify some of his views was comical." Unfortunately, Milo's taste for controversial statements would get him banned from most major social media platforms. Eventually, the loss of his core audience did irreparable damage to Milo's online career, and made it almost impossible for him to make a living off of it, as he would be seen on Telegram claiming that he was was broke. Contrary to Milo's inflammatory style of journalism, CoffeeZilla prioritizes an unbiased investigation and story. With over 3 million subscribers and a $10 million studio, CoffeeZilla has made a name for himself by uncovering the nature of some of the world's largest online scams like the FTX crypto trading scandal.
And so people invested in FTX thinking that this is going to be a safe platform. This kid is smarter than everyone else. He's the son of Harvard lawyers. We just sort of can't lose. And nobody paid attention to some of the red flags that were going on until ultimately it was too late. It turns out he was pilfering FTX, the customer deposits, and was using it in Alameda Research, which was his trading firm, to try to make extra money.
From investigating shady influencer products to breaking down million-dollar pyramid schemes, CoffeeZilla has made it his mission to expose as many con artists as possible, and fans love him for it. Loving the episode, he's an amazing YouTuber, calls out MLMs, fraud, and made Logan Paul shit his pants. Despite CoffeeZilla being one of the lower profile guests on Joe Rogan, he definitely left his mark, and there was no complaints about his episode. In fact, his ability to bring Logan Paul's scams to a worldwide stage earned almost everyone's respect who watched the episode. So whilst I wouldn't consider him one of the most loved guests on Joe Rogan, I would consider him an honorable mention. Looking at only a handful of the Joe Rogan Experience guests reveals just how influential the host, guests, and events on the podcast are on internet culture. Without Joe's uncensored and unfiltered approach to podcasting, the online world wouldn't have gotten such a clear view into the minds of so many credible and controversial personalities.
But public opinion is not just divided around celebrities. Sometimes it splits over whether a creator's reveal is iconic or disastrous.
There's a moment in a YouTuber's journey that can make or break their career. It's not hitting 1 million subscribers or getting their first sponsorship. Instead, it's when a creator looks straight into the camera and shows their face for the very first time. For fans, it's exciting. Suddenly, there's a real person behind the disjointed voice they've listened to for years, someone to connect with, someone they can feel like they know. But that connection is a double-edged sword, because while some face reveals are met with love, support, and floods of wholesomeness, others end up as cautionary tales for the rest of the internet. And in one instance, a face reveal didn't just disappoint fans, it straight up tanked the YouTuber's career, starting with a face reveal that was never supposed to happen. Nora Cat started uploading videos and live streaming on YouTube back in 2017. She was one of the earliest VTubers on the platform, and quickly gained a respectable audience that liked watching her play games and just chat on random topics. For those who don't know, VTuber is short for virtual YouTuber. It's a term used for creators who use special motion tracking software to match their in real life movements with an animated avatar, and then use that avatar for content. One of the most notable examples of this today is Iron Mouse, who is currently one of the most popular streamers in the world.
Today is Cyclotron Day! Cyclotron Day! What country is he cycling in? He's cycling in Japan, the country where he lives.
A notable thing about these VTubers is that the vast majority of them like to keep their identity hidden, and that was also the case with NoraCat. Unfortunately, during a stream in 2018, a software glitch exposed her real face to the world, and people did not like what they saw, because, as it turned out, the person controlling this anime avatar wasn't a cute girl as many had hoped. Instead, the channel was run by a middle-aged Japanese man who used voice synthesizing software for the audio.
当時はコメントが流れもすごく穏やかで
The clip of this glitch went viral across the internet, leading to people both mocking the creator and the viewers, with comments like, "Bruh, he looks like his viewers." And that day, humanity was reminded how easily tricked and betrayed they could be. And let's have a moment of silence for the guys that donated money. Some took this a bit more seriously and started hating on the creator for deceiving the viewers. The backlash only grew louder with every time the clip of this unexpected face reveal resurfaced online. Things got bad enough that the creator had to make a video addressing the backlash, titled, "To the English speakers who got to know me." In his video, he spoke from his point of view, arguing that the NoraCat character was just that, a character, and that what he was doing was just as valid as male artists creating female fictional characters, be it in books, comics, or anime.
ノラキャットは創作です。アニメや小説と同じように、キャラクターの性格や動きや喋り方などを作者が考えています。すべて創作であり、実在しません。
Something odd about this video, however, is that Nora addressed it to quote English speakers, and there's a good reason for that. You see, Nora never deceived his audience in the first place. Most of his native Japanese audience already knew a man was behind the avatar, and they were totally fine with it. That's because this kind of setup isn't unusual in Japan. In fact, it's so common it even has a name, Babeniku, which is used to describe an online avatar depicting an anime-style female character used by content creators who are often male. The only reason Nora received so much hate was because the face reveal clip spread past his usual audience and reached people who didn't have the important context. Fortunately, he didn't let this setback stop him from making the content he liked, and is still streaming on YouTube to this day. That said, while NoraCat's accidental face reveal sparked a wave of backlash, the next YouTuber's reveal had the exact opposite effect. It received nothing but love and support from the audience. I'm of course talking about Jaden Animations, who is one of the largest animation storytime YouTubers on the planet, with over 14 million subscribers, and more than 2.8 billion views. And while she's comfortable with showing her face on camera these days, there was a time when her channel was completely anonymous. That is, until 2016, when her face was leaked on the internet without her consent. It happened when she visited VidCon 2016 with fellow YouTubers, including Alex Clark. Alex wanted to make a vlog and kept his camera rolling throughout the trip, but since Jaden was with him for a lot of it, she asked him to blur her face before posting the vlog on YouTube, even going as far as offering to edit the video herself. Alex, however, didn't comply with her request and posted the video as is, involuntarily exposing her identity to the public, all while joking about making her do a face reveal.
We're looking for Jaden. We're gonna do a face reveal. We didn't find Jaden, but we found her biggest fan. How long have you been following Jaden for?
He did delete the vlog from his channel a while later, but the damage was already done. More and more people began pestering her to do a proper face reveal. She tried to ignore these requests for as long as possible, but they didn't slow down, resulting in her addressing it in a video in April of 2017, titled, "Why I Don't Have a Face Reveal." She opened the video by listing out a few of the reasons for why she held off on doing a face reveal.
Few reasons I don't show myself are because I don't want people to have an opinion of my content and who I am based on what I look like. I'm very shy and prefer to keep to myself. I still want to have privacy.
However, while all of this was important, she eventually revealed the real reason she stayed anonymous for so long, and that was due to her extremely low self-esteem and body image issues. She'd been suffering from a severe eating disorder for quite some time, and the thought of putting herself in front of millions of viewers was terrifying to her.
A nightmare where hundreds of thousands of people are wanting to see you, and then when they finally do, it's at the lowest, darkest point of your life, and they don't even know it.
But after explaining her situation in detail, she capped off the video by doing the official face reveal everyone was asking for, and the support was overwhelming. To date, the video has accumulated over 1.6 million likes, with one of the top comments stating, "This has to be the most heartbreaking yet inspiring face reveal ever." Many people have also shared their own struggles and how watching Jaden's face reveal helped them find the courage to face the many problems in their own lives, cementing this as one of the most beloved face reveals in YouTube history. And to top it all off, Jaden becoming comfortable with being on camera has also done wonders for her career, allowing her to collaborate with so many other creators, and even participate in and win 2 different MrBeast challenges. However, where Jaden's face reveal boosted her career to new heights, the next YouTuber became the laughingstock of the internet after showing himself on camera for the first time. If you've spent any amount of time on YouTube in the past 5 years, you probably know who Dream is. He's one of the biggest Minecraft YouTubers of all time, and at one point, he even held the title of being the fastest growing channel on YouTube. However, for most of his early career, Dream was completely faceless. He did everything in his power to stay hidden from the public's eye, and while this allowed him to maintain some semblance of privacy, it also led to his stans building up unrealistically high expectations for his looks. Not only that, but he also racked up just as many haters over the years, some because of the infamous speedrun cheating scandal, and others who just found him or his fanbase insufferable. Put simply, his face reveal was destined to be a disaster, no matter what he looked like. What no one realized at the time, however, was just how big of a disaster it would turn out to be. It started in June of 2021, when someone posted this picture on the internet, claiming that this was Dream. This was eventually revealed to be an older picture from high school, but at the time, there was no proof this was actually him. However, that did not stop people from ripping into him on the internet, with one popular tweet reading, "Can we discuss how he catfished 20 million people into believing he's some cute ripped twink while he looks like this IRL? Maybe he was tired of people trying to expose his identity, or just wanted to have the freedom to make on-camera videos." But Dream gave in to the demands and decided to show his face in October of 2022. But instead of just posting a simple video with his face, Dream made the worst decision ever and tried to build up hype for the upcoming reveal. He pulled this off by calling a bunch of influencers and having them post their reactions online.
No! Hello. Hi, this is me. This is what I look like.
Hey! Yeah, how's it going, mate? There you are.
There I am.
Oh shoot! What the heck? You look like a baseball player. You scream baseball player to me.
Hello.
Oh my god!
This backfired horribly. The stunt only made his stans raise their expectations even higher, while his haters found the whole thing extremely cringy, making them dislike him even more. So when the actual face reveal happened, it went just as bad as you might expect. Shortly after he posted the video, phrases like "he's ugly" and "put the mask back on" began trending on Twitter. He also got turned into a meme with people comparing him to Rumpelstiltskin from Shrek and the troll face. Put simply, Dream's face reveal became the prime example of what not to do in this situation. The next face reveal, on the other hand, showed exactly how powerful it can be when done right. James Relison, aka The Odd Ones Out, is an animation storytime YouTuber similar to Jaden, and just like Jaden, he remained completely faceless for the first few years of his career. But as his fanbase grew in size, so did their curiosity, and soon people were scouring the internet trying to uncover his real identity. Fortunately, James was quick to notice this trend before anything happened.
There was a point in time when you were an animator seeing lots of success, and you had never shown your face. You were completely faceless. Was that a choice to remain anonymous? Like kind of by accident, not because of choice?
Yeah, it was just because I was like, I wanted to show my cartoon self and stuff. But then people were like starting to look for it, They were like going on
They're starting to dig.
Yeah, starting to dig. And I was like, oh, this is kind of weird because like my mom has a blog and she would like post to the public, to the world, like pictures of me. People were being weird about it.
So before anyone else could leak his face to the public, James decided to take matters into his own hands. But instead of making a big deal out of it like Dream, he came up with the idea to show his face in the most nonchalant way possible.
Oops, and this is a bit of a weird question, but what do you look like now? If you're not comfortable showing a picture, that's fine, I was just wondering. Okay, I'll do a face reveal later. If we're gonna do this, it has to be its own video with a lot of build-up, okay?
His viewers were pleasantly surprised by this face reveal, with people calling it the best and funniest face reveal in YouTube history. Another comment also pointed out how well his voice matched his face, stating, "James is the only animator who matches their voice completely. Above all, the sheer casualness of the reveal allowed his audience to relate with him, even more than they already did after hearing his stories about working retail, comfortably putting The Odd Ones Out as the gold standard for how to do a face reveal without unnecessary drama." Unfortunately, the next YouTuber's face reveal was nothing but drama and controversy from start to end. Corpse Husband once had the fastest growing channel on YouTube, with each new upload getting tens of millions of views. Fast forward to today, and he's nowhere to be found. While his story serves as a cautionary tale about what happens when stan culture goes too far, we've already talked about the sky-high expectations surrounding Dream's face reveal, but even that doesn't compare to the outright delusions fans had about what Corpse looked like. You see, while Corpse was already decently popular thanks to his horror and creepypasta videos, videos, his popularity exploded through the stratosphere in September of 2020, when he was invited to an Among Us lobby. This lobby featured some of the biggest creators on the planet, including Ludwig, Jacksepticeye, Pokimane, and many more, all of whom were shocked to hear his insanely deep and raspy voice for the first time.
I don't know, I guess I haven't done a face reveal, so.
Corpse's voice is like infrasonic bass.
Is that real?
Oh my god.
It's real, believe me. He sounds like God and the devil should sound like.
I feel like your voice is hitting a part of my ear that's never been hit before.
The clip of his voice leaving creators speechless went viral, drawing a wave of new viewers to Corpse's channel, some of which were disappointed to find out that Corpse's content was completely faceless. He was extremely careful about his privacy and went to extreme lengths to keep his identity hidden.
No, nobody.
Despite this, Corpse quickly rose to stardom. At one point, his channel was gaining up to 160,000 new subscribers every single day. However, for every million fans who simply wanted to enjoy his content, there were thousands who became borderline obsessed with Corpse. One fan even went as far as to tattoo the waveform of his breathing sound on their body. But with no face to match the name, these obsessed fans started building their own fantasies about what he might look like, all while doing everything in their power to uncover his true identity. And while he managed to stay anonymous for a long time, things took a turn for the worst in March of 2021. It's unclear if it was the work of an obsessed fan or an online troll, but someone found out everything about Corpse and doxed him online. This alone would have been stressful enough. However, Corpse had to face an even bigger problem than being doxed: the overwhelming backlash. When the leaked pictures didn't match the out-of-this-world beauty standards his stans had imagined, they began attacking him and calling him ugly across social media.
Gaining a ton of traction. Now, I'm not going to be showing those posts here. And that is for two reasons. One, I don't want to expose the guy, and two, people are being absolutely shitty about the person featured. Which, I mean, if it's just some random person or it actually turns out this is Corpse husband, still shitty. Absolutely a ton of people responding with really nasty comments, calling the person in the photos ugly among other things, which also prompted other Corpse husband fans to write things like, this alleged face reveal just showed how fucked our world is. You think Corpse is this mega hot guy, then y'all start bullying him when he didn't meet your standards, as well as saying he literally sings about how self-conscious he is about his appearance, and you guys are out here bashing him because he didn't live up to your fantasies. Disgusting. Absolutely pathetic.
He tried to ignore the hate at first, and even posted 3 more videos after the leaks. Tragically, the psychological toll of being labeled as ugly by tens of thousands of people became too much for him to bear, forcing him to disappear from the internet entirely. Fortunately, the next face reveal went better than the creator could have ever expected. Since this is an internet anarchist video, and it's been almost a year since our last video about him, you already know we have to bring him up. Penguin Zero, aka Charlie, is one of the most popular YouTubers of all time, known for his white t-shirts and deadpan expression, but it wasn't always like this. This might be hard to believe now, but for the first 10 years or so of Charlie's career, he was completely faceless on the internet. His content already had the wit and humor that's earned him an audience today, but instead of turning on the camera, he preferred talking over gameplay footage like many other YouTubers of that era.
Watch out, smart people, I opened a door. Oh shit! I saw right through that camouflage, trying to blend into the floor. On a normal adversary, that probably would have worked, but I have trained myself to distinguish a floor from a human.
Things were going well for Charlie, but then, in 2015, his life hits rock bottom.
Hit rock bottom, and I'm at the lowest point in my life, but I'm trying to be optimistic because my girlfriend broke up with me, and I just couldn't find a job, still can't find a job.
It was also around this time that one of his friends offered him advice that would change his life forever.
Why did you want to show your face? Because like, I know a lot of people don't want to. Did you want your audience to like feel like you wanted them to know you on a more personal level?
No, I'd never. Absolutely. I don't want anyone on the internet to know me on a personal level. I don't like the parasocial relationship aspect of it. The main reason was actually because I went through like a really, really hard period for a bit, and a buddy of mine, he said that like maybe if I opened up a bit more, like I'd feel better, less alone.
Charlie implemented this advice by making on-camera videos, first on Snapchat.
Just want to show off my slipper collection real quick because I'm pretty fucking proud.
Got some puppy slippers, reindeers, bear claws, and pigs.
And to his surprise, many of his viewers found him incredibly handsome, with comments like, "I did not expect him to be so good looking," and "Every human being has a flaw, and I will find his. You can't be funny, handsome, and fit without some flaw, right?" This support gave him the confidence to start posting on-camera videos on YouTube as well, and the rest is history. And to finish, the final story looks at videos creators tried to erase after the backlash got too big. From a cruel, heartless prank that left everyone in shock, to a music video featuring an alleged PDF file. These are just a couple of the many YouTube videos that were so bad they had to be erased from the internet. That being said, the first video on our list shouldn't have been uploaded in the first place. I'm of course talking about the worst video Logan Paul ever posted onto the internet, featuring a certain forest in Japan. But what most people forget is that he was being an obnoxious prick even before the big controversy. You see, back in 2017, Logan was one of the most popular YouTubers on the planet. He had millions of fans who watched every video he uploaded regardless of its contents. This made him feel invincible, believing that he could do or say anything and not face any consequences, which also explains his unhinged behavior when he visited Japan in December of that year, where he went around being a complete racist,
Tokyo is a real-life cartoon,
causing chaos in public,
LoganPaul.com/shop. Don't mind me, dumb American, pants coming down.
and harassing locals with a plush Pokeball.
Toyota, I choose you. No. Ah! Gotcha, bitch. He's gonna catch you. Okay, get him. Honey, get him.
While the video of him being a complete ass in Japan still received millions of views, some people were not happy with his antics one bit, with comments like, "In the future, there'll be a picture of Logan Paul next to the word douchebag in all dictionaries," and "I feel like he's taking advantage of the Japanese people's kindness and therefore thinks he can do whatever he wants. This is disgusting." What these people didn't know at the time was that things were about to get a whole lot worse. On December 31st, 2017, Logan uploaded a video titled, "We found a in the Japanese blank forest." Its thumbnail also showed what looked to be a person hanging from a tree. People clicked onto this video hoping that it was just clickbait, and unfortunately, it wasn't. While trekking through the infamous forest, Logan and his team went off track and came across the final resting place of a Japanese man who decided to end everything.
What the?
The video instantly went viral, becoming featured on the trending page and amassing over 6 million views in under a day. However, before Logan had the chance to celebrate its success, the whole thing blew up in his face. The backlash to this video was immense and swift, with a petition calling for his ban getting over 720,000 signatures. Logan responded by deleting the video completely, but the damage was already done. A couple days later, he also posted an apology titled, "So sorry.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I don't expect to be forgiven. I'm simply here to apologize." So what we came across that day in the woods was obviously unplanned, and the reactions you saw on tape were raw, they were unfiltered.
This wasn't as well as he might have hoped, but it was good enough to give him a second chance at YouTube. Fast forward to 2025, and Logan is still widely hated for the Japanese forest video, as well as his many controversies since, like robbing millions of dollars from his viewers with a crypto scam. Though unlike Logan, who's still a controversy magnet to this day, this next YouTuber pulled off a complete redemption arc. PewDiePie is one of the most popular YouTubers in history. To give you an idea of just how popular, in December 2016, he became the first YouTuber to hit 50 million subscribers. He was also making tens of millions of dollars from brand deals with massive companies like Disney. He was on top of his game. However, just a month later, he did something so stupid it could have easily ended his career. It all stemmed from his desire to continue upping the entertainment value of each new upload, all to keep his massive audience happy. While looking for video ideas, he came across Fiverr, a website where people would do random tasks for small amounts of money, and one of them caught his interest.
But my favorite is your message on, where these guys, for example,
We'll paint your message on my body and dance in the jungle.
Exclusive on Fiverr for $5.
Felix thought it would be funny to request the most outrageous phrase he could think of, and came up with this.
Sign to behold. Death to all.
While I can't show the full phrase as it's highly offensive and YouTube would ban this video, it mentioned a certain religious group. He likely thought that the request would simply get rejected due to its shocking nature. Unfortunately, the Indian boys running this gig didn't fully understand the gravity of the message Felix asked for, and went through with his request.
I paid for this. What? What's with the Christmas? I like the editing.
Subscribe to Keemstar.
The situation was perfectly summed up by a viewer's comment, reading, "I love the shock and horror on his face when they unrolled that paper, like he couldn't believe they actually did it. It was obviously a joke, he didn't think they were actually going to do it." Felix uploaded this video in January of 2017, expecting everyone to laugh at the lengths some people will go to for money, but it backfired spectacularly. News outlets jumped to the story, labeling him as an anti-Semitic nut. This resulted in him getting dropped from Disney. Google also put the production of his YouTube original show, Scare PewDiePie, on hold, and removed him from the preferred partner program. Most importantly, Felix's name became synonymous with anti-Semitism online, a sentiment that some people still echo to this day. Of course, many people were also on Felix's side, with this comment gaining over 9,000 likes, stating, "I'm Jewish and I laughed so hard at this. Shame the media doesn't get jokes." As for Felix himself, he initially tried to fight back against these claims, stating that sites like Wall Street Journal took out the section of context to paint him as something he's not. But eventually, he accepted that what he did was wrong, even if it was intended as nothing more than a joke. He deleted the video containing the offensive sign alongside his video criticizing the news outlets, and apologized, stating, "I am in no way supporting any kinds of hateful attitudes. I think of the content I create as entertainment, and not a place for any serious political commentary. I know my audience understands that, and that is why they come to my channel. Though this was not my intention, I understand that these jokes were ultimately offensive." Now, he did have another major controversy in September of 2017 for saying the N-word during a stream, which he apologized for as well. However, he has learned his lesson since, and is now living a controversy-free life in Japan with his wife and son. That said, while his actions can be considered wrong, they were mostly harmless in the grand scheme of things, especially compared to the next video, which was taken down for putting a man through extreme psychological torture. Samuel Nicholas Pepper, better known as just Sam, started his YouTube journey back in 2010 after getting booted from the Big Brother UK TV show.
Hey, JC, we stopped this about 20 minutes ago, now shut the fuck up. Right, here we go.
Don't be so rude, Sam.
Sam, that's really unhelpful.
He was one of the early pioneers of prank videos on YouTube, with relatively tame pranks, like making people slightly uncomfortable in an elevator.
This is cozy. Should we all have a group hug, everyone? How do you feel about that? Group hug? No? Sorry guys, I've just farted. Sorry guys, I've just farted.
Jesus Christ. You should have better respect and their manners.
But as time went on, more and more people started making similar prank content on YouTube. This increased competition forced Sam to amp up the intensity of his pranks, just to stand out from the crowd. And it didn't take long for his pranks to escalate from harmless fun to borderline harassment, like terrifying unsuspecting strangers with fake insects, or trying to hold hands with random women on the street. However, this constant escalation reached its peak on the 29th of November 2015, when he uploaded a video titled "Killing Best Friend Prank." The video featured two Vine creators, Sam Goldbach and Colby Brock, who were very close friends in real life. Sam wanted to show how a person would react if their best friend died right in front of them. To make this happen, he convinced Colby to work with him in pranking Colback. He then invited the two to a predetermined location for a quote meeting, and just like they planned, Colby stopped the car in that location and pretended something was wrong with it.
Whoa, what are you doing? I'm not doing that.
The two then got out of their car and started looking under the hood to find the supposed problem. However, seconds later, a person approached them from behind and put a black cloth on Golbach's head and pinned him on the ground.
Holy crap. No, this thing right here is it, right? Holy crap, no.
Colby then helped this person tie Golbach with duct tape before putting him in the car's trunk and driving off. The video then cut to a rooftop with Golbach tied to a chair and Colby kneeling next to him. A masked figure removes Golbach's hood to show him the face of his friend one last time.
It's gonna be alright.
He then pulls out a fake gun and pretends to shoot Colby, who instantly falls to the ground. But from Golbach's perspective, this is all real. He just lost his best friend and doesn't even know why. After a solid minute of Golbach bawling his eyes out, Colby gets up and tells him that it's all a prank.
Sam, What? What the fuck?
Sam.
What is? I thought you actually died.
Dude, I'm sorry, man. Dude, no, I'm here.
Don't you ever fucking do that to me again, dude? I actually thought you died.
The video then ended with Sam doing an interview of the two to show that they're okay. However, while Golbach might have been fine with the prank, the viewers, not so much. With one viewer writing, "The kidnapping vid went a little too far, but Sam saying he's everything I have made me cry a whole new ocean." Another simply wrote, "That wasn't a prank, that was psychological torture." Put simply, most people saw this prank as unnecessarily cruel and cold-hearted. They felt genuinely bad for the extreme mental torment Golbach was put under, resulting in Sam getting backlash from every corner of the internet.
There was absolutely no humor in it. Not at all. If you actually found humor in this, you probably don't get out very often.
I hate this video. I think it's absolutely disgusting.
Viewers also started a petition for YouTube to terminate Sam's whole channel, which received over 220,000 signatures. Even the hacktivist group Anonymous got involved and told Sam to take down the video, or they will unleash hell on him. Things were looking bad for Sam, but instead of listening to the harsh criticism from around the internet, Sam decided to double down. He launched a GoFundMe campaign stating that he would take the video down if he gets $1.5 million in donations. Eventually, the pressure became overwhelming, leading him to wipe his entire channel, not just this video, but all of them. In his later apology, he also revealed something that made viewers even more mad. According to Sam, the whole thing was fake. Golbach knew it was a prank the whole time and was just acting. Golbach and Colby also confirmed this in an interview a few months later.
Most people don't believe me that that was acting. They're still like, oh, he got traumatized, that was real. But I had tried to work on making myself cry for like 3 weeks before that.
However, many viewers did not buy this one bit. They're convinced that Golbach was lying since his supposed acting felt a bit too real, with comments like, "Despite Sam saying he knew the whole time, he isn't that good of an actor. There is no way an average YouTuber could pull off that level of raw panic and emotion. He thought his friend was dead, and there's no way Sam was in on it. His reaction was genuine and real as fuck." I feel like he's only saying that because he didn't want Colby to get all the hate. Regardless of its authenticity, it still marked the end of Sam's career. He tried rebranding himself with vlogs and stuff on multiple occasions, but failed every time. He's now spending his days as a somewhat successful TikToker whose viewership fluctuates between a few 100,000 views to just a couple thousand views per video. As cruel and heartless as Sam's prank was, at least his targets were adults. The next YouTuber, however, had no such restraint, pulling equally cruel pranks on his own young children without a second thought. Michael and Heather Martin started their family YouTube channel called Daddy05 in 2015, with a description that read, "We as a family decided to make this YouTube channel just for fun." And for a while, that's all there was to it, with the couple and their 5 children simply hanging around the house, playing with each other, and being wholesome all around. This resulted in the channel gaining over 750,000 subscribers and more than 176 million views. Now, you would think that this level of success would be enough to satisfy satisfy the Martin couple. Sadly, it wasn't long before their thirst for views outweighed the love for their own children. They realized that the more shocking a video was, the better it performed. So they started performing cruel pranks with their kids. These often involved yelling at them for extended periods of time, making them break down in tears before revealing that it was all just a prank. Like the video titled Invisible Ink Prank Epic Freakout, in which Heather poured ink that turns invisible after a while on the carpet and then pretended like it was the son Cody's fault.
The video starts with a Maryland mother holding a bottle of magic disappearing ink.
I'm gonna squirt it all over his carpet and start flipping out.
That's exactly what she does. Then she screams for her 10-year-old son, Cody.
What the? I didn't do that!
Even the father joins in, as the youngster says he didn't do anything.
Why did you do that?
You ruined the carpet.
Get out of here, mind your business! I didn't do that! Mom and Dad, I didn't do
my God.
The heartbreaking sight of such young children in distress left viewers outraged, leading to the video racking up more dislikes than likes. The couple tried to ignore the backlash by, quote, blocking all the haters, but that only made things worse, with one person writing, "These parents literally think that verbally abusing their children is considered a, quote, prank and legitimately see nothing wrong with it. How can you be so evil?" After getting overwhelmed by the backlash, they tried to apologize for their mistakes, and even went on national TV to plead their case. However, it was too little too late. The authorities were already investigating the couple, and in May of 2017, custody to their two youngest children, Emma and Cody, was returned to their biological mother. But that wasn't all, because just 4 months later, the two were also arrested. The court found Mike and Heather guilty of child neglect charges, and they were sentenced to 5 years of supervised probation, which also prohibited them from making any social media posts of their kids, essentially ending their online career. In July 2018, YouTube also stepped in, deleted all their videos, and banned the channel permanently. They've since tried to make a comeback with a channel named The Martin Family, but judging by the views, I'd say that a comeback isn't happening anytime soon. However, most people can agree that the deletion of all Daddy05's videos was completely justified, but for this next case, the outrage might have been a little overblown. You see, while Dream is still one of the most popular Minecraft YouTubers on the planet, his popularity from 2020 to 2022 was on a whole nother level. Everything he did was an immediate success, and this included his venture into the world of music. For instance, Dream released his song Mask in May of 2021, and it only took the song 7 days to hit over 10 million streams. The overall reception to the song was also quite good, with tweets like, "I'm so proud of Dream. Mask is so good and his vocals improved so much. Oh god, banger song," and "Mask by Dream was playing in the gym, life is good," getting thousands of likes. Some fans even made fan art of the song to show their appreciation. However, these positive reactions lasted barely over 2 weeks before everything came crashing down. This is because on May 30th, Dream finally admitted to accidentally cheating during a speedrun despite denying the allegations for months. This confession alone sparked a massive wave of backlash, causing many to turn their backs on anything Dream related, including his new song. Dream tried to salvage the situation by posting the song's music video a week later. Unfortunately for him, this only made the situation worse. For starters, the video looked way uglier than anyone could have imagined. The character in the video had a creepy, uncanny valley face, and the whole thing looked cheap and unfinished. However, the bigger issue people had was with its messaging. The video showed his character throwing away a box of medication labeled as normal pills, and looking at a doctor's note saying, "You are not normal." Even though these scenes were based on Dream's own experiences with ADHD and its medication, many were not happy about this corny depiction in the music video. They saw these scenes as condescending towards doctors who just want to help their patients with mental illness, with one popular tweet on the matter stating, "Hey Dream, what's the message behind throwing out the normal pills?" and basically implying that if you have a mental illness, do not seek medical help because it's, quote, bad. Really weird message to say F medication for any form of mental illness basically. Even if unintentional, it's extremely effing strange and damaging. If people need help, they need help, and calling a medication normal pills effing lessens someone's struggle with mental illness. Put simply, Dream was getting flamed from all sides and there was nothing he could do. Ultimately, the backlash on the video got so bad that he decided to private the music video just a month after its original release. A similar thing happened to another music video from a popular YouTuber, but the reason behind this one was a whole lot more sinister. Jaden Animations is one of the largest animation storytime channels on YouTube, with over 14 million subscribers and more than 2.8 billion views. However, despite its success, this channel remained faceless for many years. Then in April of 2017, Jaden posted a video explaining why she hasn't done a face reveal yet. In this video, she revealed that one of the main reasons she stayed anonymous for so long was because she had been suffering from a severe eating disorder. She would starve herself to the point of passing out, eat something to relieve the pain, then quickly purge it all to avoid gaining any weight. Fortunately, she also revealed that she was now in a much healthier place. A year after this video, she also posted a music video called Empty to spread further awareness about eating disorders. This video went extremely viral, amassing over 27 million views over the next 2 years. But then, in September of 2022, the music video vanished from YouTube without a trace, leaving fans confused about what happened. However, unlike the deleted videos we've looked at so far, this one wasn't Jaden's fault in any way, shape, or form. Instead, the reason behind its disappearance was the person featured in the video as a co-creator, Dave from Boy in a Band.